I've been for 5 years. I still don't know shit.
But see, you know what it is? If you work a job that's not good, it doesn't have like nuance. It's just like you're doing one thing over and over again, even though it is in an environment and it is in a particular language. The structure is so say you're working like in Java, right? Like even though you're working in Java, if you do trash in Java for 5 years, you still have 5 years of experience. But is it good experience? It's a question, and you can't really judge that based on anything other than to like Carl was going to evaluate the talent. But you can have 5 years of experience and it still be garbage. Trust me.
But so, and it's even worse with Java and .NET people because it's a similar fashion, right? Because
.NET here.
the most people that use Java and .NET, they're large and they work for large enterprises, and with large enterprises, you don't really do any real code.
They break it up so small.
The bedrock, yeah, they created the bedrock 1,000,000 years ago, and you do these little tweaks like, okay, you know, I was at the bank, so they're using mainframes, so you have to parse essentially a string. So there's a schema of the string you do. So when there's a change to the schema because Visa, you know, changed the headers of the information that's coming through on the auths, it's like, okay, yeah, you do this little tweak. And they take 3 months to do that. And you feel like you're actually doing real work.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, create a whole Java application that doesn't use Spring from scratch, deploy everything, wire it all up, microservice architecture, go. I could tell you right now, I can't do that right now.
You said,
That's a hell no. So, but if you were a Node.js developer, because you have to build everything yourself. Like, yes, you could use a whole bunch of NPM packages, but you're more likely to know how to build an entire system if you're a Node developer versus if you're a Java developer or a .NET developer. Because everything's baked already. It's been built for 10 years, and you're mostly doing...
Yeah, you're a software mechanic, not a software engineer. It's like
exactly.
You go in there and you work the system, but yeah, like you said, you're not fabricating anything. You're just like, yeah, let me twist a couple.
Maurice disagrees. We'll put a pin in that. We'll put a pin in that.
Oh, that means it's dead.
It's a wrap.
No.
That means it's dead. I just killed the conversation, guys.
I'm making a note right now to circle back.
Firebot told us to move on. Firebot told us to move on.
In the streets, they call it murder.
You know he listens to Firebot suggestions.
Oh my god!
Hey, listen. Always whispering in his ears.
Firebot just hem the pants. They don't run nothing over here.
Oh, okay. Sure. That's all they do. Hem the pants.
Is it skinny fit? Skinny fit hugging all them curves.
No.
Come on, man.
Out in the streets, they call it murder.
But yeah, of course, Maurice disagrees. Why do you disagree, Maurice? And then we'll get into the intro.
It's Maurice. Like, there's simple as that.
Disagree, nigga. That's not a reason. You know what? I'm just doing the intro.
That's not an explanation.
Because he disagrees. I told you what's gonna happen. It's Maurice. He's not gonna give you an explanation. He's just gonna say, "I disagree extremely." Yeah,
I should have known. That's my bad. That's my bad.
He should have just bolded disagree.
Yeah. No point.
We need to make a chat bot to give.
That's not what we're talking about. It's not about re-architecting the wheel. It's about not knowing how something works and just being able to fix a piece of the wheel. Like, yeah, if you can change a wheel, that doesn't make you somebody who designs tires.
And build a car. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't design the tire. You just put it on the car. You don't get to take credit for like, oh yeah, I'm a tire engineer. No, you're a mechanic, and you can work freaking
on existing tires.
Yeah, one of them crossbars or what you call it?
Tire irons.
Tire irons or the
impact drivers.
Yeah, I don't know the names of tools.
Clearly.
Yeah, one of the gun thing is the vroom vrooms. The vroom vrooms. Y'all know what I'm talking about.
There you go. That's the one.
I'm done. We need to make a chat for being the nigga of the week.
What does that even entail? Oh, I got something.
Is it like donkey of the day except for nigga of the week?
Oh, man.
Nigga of the week is brought to you
Nigga
by.
the stream.
What
What
if they messed around and did not trademark that, and we trademarked that before they got to it?
Nigga of the day.
Yes.
I say do it.
I'm sure they trademarked it. I mean,
Who?
there's no way.
Just assume. You just assume.
You
That-
talking
that-
about
you couldn't put no
today?
spaces in the options.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah, I'm sure they trademarked it.
How do I vote for worst take? See?
You know what? We'll add that
Maurice
later.
would be prime candidate for nigga of the week.
God damn it. No one is right. Okay, we're not talking about. We're not talking to you. This nigga
Nobody's talking about raw
Who's,
apps. Nobody's talking about raw apps.
at all.
Talking about understanding how things are supposed to work. And if
There
you
we
don't,
go.
you can break something. I mean, you can fix things without actually understanding how they work. A lot of developers do that. I definitely done it a ton of times in my life where I'm just like, I'll figure out how this thing, how this one small piece works, but never knowing how the entire system works.
Put it this way, like my first job at the bank, or right out of school, our Crown Jewel app, I never was able to get it running locally. Ever. I made the change. I had unit tests. It worked. Never once I get to work. I don't even think I had enough memory on my machine to get it to
God
run
damn.
locally.
See,
That's a bad architected system. So
I'm gonna have you come in for a brown bag to talk to these Java developers at my job because they be like so convinced that shit is the just the right tool for what we're doing, and I'm like, you're wrong, and you don't know better because you don't know better, but you're wrong.
yeah,
But like it's bad. It's bad.
If it's CPU bound and you need
It's-
portability, then
Nigga, we make a web app.
That's a bad idea. Get that Java out of here.
I'm saying.
That's a bad
Anyway,
idea.
all right. You ready, JK? Oh, not quite.
I think I'm hearing a little buzz in my.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
I
was
heard
happening. Remember that was happening last time. What did you say it was last time?
I think it was my wire was not long enough, so it was like.
Let me.
Can y'all hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear it when you. It's only when you talk though, just barely.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Let me see. Me and you.
Maybe you can move the mic just a little bit closer to you and skip the
I'm
headphones.
saying smart shit, and I realized I'm muted. I
Yeah,
say it
sure.
again.
It was intelligent. I'm sure.
It was
You just don't have to talk.
Yo.
Beast, you
Rip.
thought last time it was like, no, we can't hear nothing you say now, Beast. Nope, nothing. Just-
Zero.
That's the way I like it.
Wow.
Wow.
We can't hear you insulting him.
My nigga, nothing is coming through that mic.
Again, just the way I like it. What a wonderful podcast this is.
There it goes.
Weather's nice. Oh shit, the storm clouds just roll back in.
It was rooted. Damn straight.
No ringing. No ringing. You're good.
Damn straight.
Yeah, yeah, that's better. That's
That's when you know. That's when you know a rattler come in. Strike your
yeah.
ass.
Yeah, man. There's a whole thing. I
Yeah.
can't
They
recite
They
it
won't
now.
know. They
There's
won't
a
know.
whole thing.
They never went to HBC. They won't know. That's all
No.
good. That's all good.
Do you have
I mean,
like
it takes
a-
only 12, so he doesn't actually
Fucking
think
Cam.
about school at all, really. He just started.
Dog,
Don't
what's
know who.
Where did
don't
you
know who
graduate?
Florian
Tech?
West is.
that nigga
They
in
Bob.
college, remember?
Tech's
Huh?
gonna graduate soon. He's gonna graduate school soon.
He's
High
gonna
school.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Actually, Joel is the youngest one here right now.
Facts.
Oh, snap.
I've been meaning to bring that up the whole time. This nigga
course
over
you
here
have.
is the youngest one here.
He is.
Hey, Tech, he's not a part of
Look,
Blerdimension.
do you guys
I can't.
So now I'm
He's an honored guest. There
There
will
we
be
go.
no honored guest slander here. But Tech, you can get all of the
All
young
the
All
smoke.
the school. All them.
you know what? I'm
Yeah,
happy
talk
to be the
about
youngest
that.
one in the group. All right.
You got your
man.
driver's license, man?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. All that means is
It's-
I'll
it's
just
a learner's
collect all y'all
permit.
royalties and y'all are dead in the grave. You know, I'll
You
be
parallel
around a
park?
little bit longer.
You know, can you disrespectful? All right.
I
let's-
can't parallel park actually.
Ah,
That is a
ah!
problem.
Knew it.
Does your car not have a camera? Anyway, we don't have to. I'm gonna start.
It has a camera swat. It's just
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
even
great at
worse.
it.
God damn.
I mean, hey, listen, I'm not gonna say it like
Good
parallel
lord.
parking is
Listen.
easy, but I mean, if you got the camera, you can.
Yeah,
I grew up
we
in
know
the
you can play Rocket League,
country.
Suave. We know you can drive. Suave is the greatest driver that I've ever seen. He's out here flipping his car around and rolling it into spots.
I would
Pirouettes
never
around the
do
defense. Wow.
would never do anything like that to y'all.
Suave he doesn't parallel park. He drifts into those spots.
He just
the commercial.
He goes from the opposite side of the
Furious
road.
just like rides around the corner and just like pops right in.
Hey, Toyota be hiring him to show off their
exactly
skills.
Suave's that guy in the car you just don't see in the thing, you know, in the trailers.
But put the little text at the bottom: professional driver, do not try.
Exactly.
It's like that cut. It's like that cut on that movie where the girl's driving the motorcycle and they cut the Terry Crews real quick and they cut back.
Yo. Anyway, all right.
Hey.
So, thank y'all for joining us and welcome to the Blerdimension podcast. Follow us at Blerdimension here on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. If you haven't already, turn on notifications so you can be the first to know when we got new content for you. I'm Kavon, Negrito Suave. We got JK, Be Sternal.
What's happening, niggas?
We got AJ and Oslinja.
What's everybody doing today?
We got JD, Creates Activity.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
We don't care about
We got
him.
Carl XKBHX.
Exclamation King XKBHX. Go ahead and
No,
do
no,
that.
no, no.
Yo, fam. Hold up.
That's
I don't
no,
even know what that's for.
Whoa, whoa,
No,
what's the problem?
No. That's not your username. That's the problem. That's not your username.
What?
Your
I don't think
username.
I'm introducing myself, guys.
No.
I don't see the problem here.
No. You added
Sounds like you trying to-
extra
Sounds like
letters.
you're introducing bias into the system. I don't know.
Never that.
That's
Never that.
very accurate.
No.
100%.
Look, I'm letting people know, hey, we got a new feature, you know.
No, that's not what you did. That's not what you did. Because you could have done that.
You could have
had
said,
the opportunity.
exclamation card king and
You
then
did
the
something
username.
else.
I'm
But
just
you did
giving them an
something else.
example of what they could type if they wanted to
That's
participate.
not. But see, you also didn't do that. See, you didn't do that either. You just said.
That's an
You just-
example.
You know what? We're gonna put a pin in this. We're gonna put a pin in
Absolutely.
it.
Put a pin in that
We-
XKBHX.
I don't think we need to do that one. We also have a special
Exclamation
guest tonight, Joel, aka Joxel. All of our pronouns are he, him, and his. We're just gonna be chatting with Joel tonight. Joel is Chief Technology Officer at QuirkChat. He's a software engineer. He's an anime and gaming nerd, as well as a casual YouTuber. You can find him here on Twitch and on YouTube at Joxel. And I'll post a link in the chat for y'all. So since we got the interview,
Go ahead and
of
call
course,
5K casual. This thing over here got 5K subscribers on YouTube. Hasn't uploaded in like 6 months.
See, exactly.
wasted an
That's
hour.
casual.
Show some respect.
People who ain't casual are uploading every day, multiple times a day.
I see what you're saying.
Goals.
Bruh, same. But yeah, so we got two segments to y'all. We're gonna chat, chill with Joel. We're gonna talk about what we'll be consuming this week and what's good. We might play some SoCal while we do it, or something else.
I think we should probably play Uno and let Carl play. Cause
oh yeah. 100%.
Or we could just
It
play
was-
Rocket
it was
League
so
since
mad.
everybody has it, and we can all just play.
We could.
I don't know what you're
No,
talking about.
I just
could
feel
play
like
Rocket League.
Carl
I'd be down for
really
that.
needs to get his $10 worth here.
Oh,
My
I'm sorry,
$20
$14.
$20. There we go. You know what? We can talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. What's up, JK?
No, I was saying
Oh
he
my-
corrected that real
Bro,
quick.
who's holding up the phone? Your toddler?
It's like,
No, man, I set up this damn like old Sony A7, A5 camera.
Yo,
I thought he was
trying to
just
get better visuals.
I thought he was
I
just
got
trying to go for like a real
And-
artistic like
I'm
like a
dude,
gimbal
you turning my
shot.
stomach right now doing all that too.
I thought it
got
was like
so
a
much
gimbal
editing.
shot. He was like
He's like, yeah.
trying to come in from a different angle and show y'all.
Yo, I think
Oh,
that is a sign from God saying that you do not need to be seen at all.
Oh my
So
Wow,
yeah. My man's still buzzing
Okay.
while delivering the smoke.
Lost the map.
Yo.
I can't stand
So
having to work with you.
if you're new to the podcast, what's good is a segment we do about games we've been playing, shows or movies we've been watching, comics or manga we've been reading, all that kind of good stuff. After the podcast, we're gonna get into after podcast gaming. We're gonna play probably Halo and Rocket League, or maybe Knockout City, maybe Halo and Knockout City. So
Yeah, Rocket
stick
League's
around
pretty
for that.
good.
Rocket. Hey, I like Rocket League. I say we should do it.
Yeah.
Me myself personally.
Me, myself, and I. That's what you're saying.
Jack, you coming back or you?
I'm here.
Okay. All right. I got you.
Here.
Made it.
Gotcha.
Oh, damn.
There's consternation in the voice.
Rip. So, let's talk
shouldn't
about
fall
Joel's.
again.
It might. It's
It
okay.
might.
Hey, listen, we understand. We here for you.
Hey, if it falls again, you know
Trying to
it's
improve
meant to be.
visuals and shit, and this is what you get. Trying to be as crispy as Joel over there. You know what I'm saying? Look at
Bruh.
that. Look at those. Look at that vid right there. This man in the back.
That's
light,
never gonna happen for you,
Okay,
bro.
baby.
I'm sorry.
Like, look at this.
That's never gonna happen for you, bro.
I'm surprised my Husky
You
hasn't
know
made an
what?
appearance.
He ain't got one of those.
Yo,
He ain't got one of those.
Maurice
He got
said
one
it
of
can
those.
only.
He said the fat man. He got the bat signal in the back.
He ain't got one of those.
See, y'all check out Nazi.
This nigga said can only be one chief light skin, and we took out not sir. Wow.
Oh man.
Damn.
That's cold.
Dang.
Hey, listen, I prep guests up front. There's a lot of light skin jokes on this podcast.
They're
Yeah, tons. And they're normally directed at me.
Hey, if Creston is here, y'all can split that, but he ain't.
yeah. If you want, I just somehow he misses them. Like he doesn't. He's not even present. It's like they all seem to somehow heat seek. Like
Like needlers straight to him.
Oh no.
yeah.
Right, so let's talk about Joel's like blurred background a little bit. So like, how did you get into like nerd shit? Did like somebody in your family put you on? Did you just happen upon it? Were your friends into it? How did that happen for you?
I mean, for the most part, man, I was always into like technology and gaming. So growing up, my father used to be in the military. He's a retired vet now. And he used to work in supply. So he would always bring home like military gear. And I was always like tinker with it when I was younger. My uncle had a lot of the game systems. We had the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, had the Xbox. And that's kind of what kind of get me involved with gaming. And then growing up, I got introduced to anime, watching Toonami and Adult Swim back when Dragon Ball GT was airing and shit.
What?
So
Sorry.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
that's
Sorry to
what
hear
that's what I was watching. That was my first introduction to Dragon Ball. Then I got to see
man.
all the actual like goodness that existed outside of that. But
Okay.
yeah,
I'm just
Did
happy.
you ever see
I was
that,
watching and you
So it's
watched
all up from there. That's good.
yeah.
That's true. He did.
Or the
He
lowest point.
didn't have the dip that everyone the rest of us had. He actually got to go like on rocket
GT
launch.
was okay.
Really, nigga?
Let's not hate on GT.
No,
Let's
that's
not
doing?
hate
What
fully
he was
on
doing
GT.
right
No, it was bad. It was bad, and then Akira Toriyama tried to save it, and that's why you can even remember anything good about GT is because the people who were in charge were not in charge by the end. But it was like, I mean, he got the ship back to the shore, but I mean, that ship never rode. It never went back in the ocean. It died there on the shore. It had two
No,
holes in it.
my first sail was kind of rough, and then I got on a cruise ship, and it was like, oh, this is how nice it could be,
Yeah.
and everything was like smooth
Exactly.
sailing from there. So I got to, we had to start at the bottom, got that appreciation. Now we can appreciate all the nicer things even more.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You did
but
it
yeah,
the right
man.
way.
You did
That's
it right.
that's pretty much been the background. Like I was always surrounding myself with tech stuff, with anime stuff after I was introduced to it, and then also with gaming, and those kind of naturally revolve around each other, and sort of their communities. So I just
What's
kind
your
of,
dad's rank?
he was first sergeant.
Okay.
Noise.
He was in the army.
Okay.
Yep. That's
My
the way to go.
wife's
That's the way to go.
father's army.
Best way to go. I don't know. That's not what I've been told. Anyway,
Somebody told
I'm
you
just-
wrong. That's all. That's all. Let me.
I don't say that because my dad was in the army.
Oh, you heard,
I
you
mean,
heard
I feel
correct,
you.
Swap. You heard correct, but
No, Swampy didn't. You're correct. Don't listen to him.
Uh,
He's a civilian.
name
They
the
don't know.
uniform.
They don't know anything.
Civilian.
Facts.
Civilians don't know anything.
damn. So, what was your shit when you were younger, Joel? Like what show did you like? You had to see, what book or comic that like did you have to have when it came out? Like, what was that for you?
So I never got a chance to really get into comics. I got into mangas a little bit towards like middle school. But growing up, like my family didn't really like give me the opportunity to buy those things. They didn't really like, encourage me to go look for like stuff like that at the bookstore or whatever. So when it came to shows, I was always like sneakily staying up late because I had not a super strict household, but I had the semi-strict one. Like you wasn't supposed to be watching Adult Swim, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
but I did
No,
really
you were
like
not.
watching Inuyasha. I think back then they still had, I want to say they still had Gundam showing on Toonami at some points. I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
It's like around 11,
Gundam Wing.
12, because
Yeah,
First
Inuyasha
child
was
Gundam
soap
Gundam
Wing.
Wing.
opera. Like
exactly.
that thing was like I felt like an adult watching Gundam. I
For
was like,
real.
real stuff is happening here.
Exactly,
like,
right?
Yeah.
Real nations, people are dying. Like this is legitimate
This is war.
stuff here. I'm not watching a child show right now. I'm watching this could be any show on TV. Like I was like, this thing is
Gundam Wing 00 and G Gundam were my two favorites.
G Gundam was ridiculous, but it was also fun. But it was ridiculous.
Of course.
G
Which
Gundam
one
was
was
ridiculous.
Infinite Waltz? I never saw that, but I
Oh, that's a Gundam Wings movie. That
Yeah.
caps the Gundam Wings story. So
Yeah.
in this waltz.
Didn't they remake Gundam Wing? They didn't just remake
they?
it?
No.
Like they
might have
remastered it or
remastered
something.
it. They might have remastered it. I
saw
doubt it.
something like that.
They're not going to remake that one. I mean, it wouldn't work the second time anyway. Like it's just not. It was in the right era for its show. Like if you try to watch it now, it's like, yeah, anime moves a lot faster than this now. Like this is too slow.
I saw
It's
something
like watching Rocky and Bullwinkle. Nothing happens, and then they're like, on the next
Rocky
episode,
and Bullwinkle. Boy, Jocks don't know nothing about that.
and now they're just tech. They have
Oh
no
my
idea what
God.
the show
Or
is.
tech, yeah. They don't know nothing about that Hanna-Barbera.
Wow.
We Yellow Gorilla. Yeah, all that shit. Anyway.
All good. So let's talk about your professional background. How did you get into like software engineering, like in particular?
Let's see, software engineering. I was so originally I was planning to go. I started off, I guess. Let me take it back. So in high school, I was really into art. I used to do a lot of like hand drawing, and then I slowly started moving to digital drawing. And I wanted to transition into graphic design, but at the time I was also going to a career academy. So I used to go to school in Georgia, in Conyers, Georgia. Actually, back then it was Conyers, Georgia. And they had a career academy that was like a sister school of our high school. I was only there for a couple years, but it was something I've never seen before because every other school I went to was like a traditional, like, middle school, high school setup. And there I was taking architecture classes because I really liked architecture. Went all the way through architecture while also doing graphic stuff on the side. Basically, at the end of my certificate program, I decided that I didn't want to do architecture anymore because I thought I would have a lot more creative freedom. And it turns out you don't when you have to factor in building codes and a lot of restrictions that are here in the US. So I told myself I was going to go into engineering. So graduating high school, I went to community college and I was planning to go to college to get my bachelor's in computer science. Long story short, that fell through, and I had to come up with a plan B. And I saw a coding boot camp. Back then, they were very obscure. This was like, 2016, 2017? Coding boot camps are still really obscure. They weren't really popular, but I looked up some reviews. There was like 2 of them, but I was like, you know what? I know that if I at least get the skills, I'll be able to find an opportunity somewhere. I'll make an opportunity for myself. So I ended up taking the coding boot camp, and the rest was history, man. I started fell in love with software engineering and coding, and just kind of been able to use that to take my creative background with graphic design and web design and actually kind of unlock my ability to build all kinds of applications and web applications when I started learning how to code. And just kind of went from there.
That's awesome. What's your first language in the boot
So
camp?
first language, after learning like your basic like HTML, CSS, and like how the web works, my first language was JavaScript. So I started off with JavaScript, and then my first software job, I got hired to work on a .NET application, and had to go through the grueling process of learning object-oriented programming languages and like how they work in comparison to functional languages. And that's kind of how I started building up my better understanding of like practices and paradigms and like building my wisdom around the tools that I was using. But JavaScript was my first language.
How'd you like .NET?
I absolutely hated it at first because I joined a company in the middle of, they were doing a transition from .NET Entity Framework to .NET Core, and the reason why I got hired there, I got hired as a junior because I had React experience from my boot camp. And one of the things that they were looking to do was, while they were also rewriting their back end, they wanted to rewrite their front end, which was like a hodgepodge of a lot of different JavaScript frameworks. Yeah. They wanted to kind of unify it under a React front end. So I was simultaneously learning like more advanced React patterns and like how to build larger scale applications, while also learning a lot more about .NET and like the transition between Entity Framework to .NET Core and all that great stuff that flows around there.
Let me ask you, did they deploy that React front end as a DLL?
No, actually, they were completely separate. So they
amazing.
used the .NET just literally powered just their web servers for like the API and everything. They did, luckily when I joined, they were using the front end on the original app was a combination of some Razor pages. Here's the thing: it had Razor pages, it had Angular pages, it had Vue pages.
This is exactly what my app looks like right now.
and it had jQuery.
That's exactly what my app looks like right now, because they haven't moved before yet.
I want to talk about
Angular JS. It's Razor
like
Views.
V1 Angular, not the new stuff.
JS, yes, and it's Razor Views, and then there's a bunch of jQuery from a bunch of libraries, and then there's also regular old standard JS in there as well. When you can't figure out how to do it, when it's something that's a little too nuanced for jQuery, you're like, oh, we got to use some JS for it.
Yeah.
So
that hurts my heart.
It was wild. It was one of the things I'm really grateful for it though, because I learned so much so fast there, because we had a team of like, there was like 5 of us developers. I made some 2 really cool friends who I'm still really close with today. But I learned so much in terms of like patterns and like methodologies regarding like object-oriented design patterns and stuff, and learning how to apply them to functional programming, like, you know, using React and JavaScript and things of that nature, and vice versa. And also I got a very wide breadth of experience in a lot of different things on both the front end, the back end, you know, dealing with architecture, like, you know, unfortunately was working with Azure, of course, because, you know, it's a Microsoft shop. Learning about microservices, learning about different ways to deploy or handle, you know, front end applications through, you know, spas or micro spas, and dealing with all kinds of crazy stuff that I feel like no junior should have been forced to like learn that quick, but I did it, and it kind of set me up to continue progressing after I left.
What's up?
That's awesome.
That's dope. Yeah. All right, anything else for that?
That's always the best way to go. How long were you in that? Not that first role per se, but that company. I didn't know if you grew with them a little bit.
No, so I was still always I went from being like a junior to just, I guess, a generic software engineer. But I was there for about a year and 2 to 4 months. I want to say like a year and 4 months or something like that. It was actually leading up. I left that company literally just after the start of the pandemic in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was that that was the layoff?
No, that was I got laid off back in last October? I think it was October. Yeah, that was the first time I've ever been laid off before.
I've been through that shit, and that is not fun.
Yo,
no,
I have never experienced anything like that before. I mean, I've heard about it, right? And like you hear about experiences with people. Like, I've never been fired. I've never gotten laid off. I've never left a company unwillingly, right? So that was the first time that's ever happened, and it happened in a way that was like completely caught me off guard. It was definitely the worst timing possible. I literally I made videos about it, because that's how, like, I never wanted anybody to have to like go through what I went through in terms of like unpreparedness. But it was definitely an experience.
So oh, go ahead.
So yeah, that's real tough. So what did you do to overcome that? You just look for another job and you found one, or did you do some consulting in the meantime? Like, how'd you navigate that
after being laid off?
Yeah.
So it was a 2-part thing. So at the time I was getting ready. I had just started an internet challenge with another friend of mine her name's Nicole Young. She has her own YouTube channel. She's another like software engineer, creator, out on Instagram and YouTube and whatnot. And we have both shared a, common goal of like wanting to basically encourage more people in our community, specifically the Black community, but for me, like the Black and the Latinx community, to engage with tech more because we need more of us out here. Especially with the advancement of like AI and like as we start venturing into the new frontier that is like Web3 and everything, I feel like it's really important that we continue to scale the amount of people that we have and our representation in the industry as much as possible. So one of the reasons I started spending more time investing in my YouTube channel was because I wanted to kind of create a platform that showcased people that look like me in positions like these. So during that process, she and I had decided we wanted to go on an internet challenge together to where we would start freelancing and trying to use our tech skills to make $50K in like 100 days, which was very doable considering the audience size that she had, which was like 4 times mine. So when I had gotten laid off, it was like 1 week into that, and after I did like a mental reset because I had a lot of emotions at the time in terms of like anger and feelings of betrayal because of how the whole situation was handled.
Right.
Not because layoffs happen, because that's something that if you go into a startup or any company that's kind of smaller,
Yeah, you expect that.
there's a level of risk there, yeah. But for me, it's more so about how you handle situations like that.
They
and
kept
the way
you
that they
around
handle
until they absolutely didn't need you anymore, and then
to
just
the
dropped you last second. That's
bro.
yes, they do it on
Last
purpose.
second.
And if you would have left early, they would have been like, I can't believe you did. You're leaving us in this
High
situation. I
and
can't believe
dry.
you're doing
I
that.
can't believe it.
But as soon as they're like, okay, we absolutely can let this person go, they cut the cord and they don't even think
Bro,
about it.
it's
absolutely
crazy.
how they work.
It's crazy, and karma's a bitch right now because they struggling. But that's besides the point. After I had gone through the the kind of mental reset I need to do to kind of get my mind right, because the reason what added insult to injury was because of the financial situation I was in. I had secret plans to propose to my girlfriend coming up in the next like 2 or 3 weeks, and I had already paid deposits down for like the place that I wanted to do it and bought the food and got the caterers. I was strapped.
God damn.
I was like, you know what? I'm spending a lot, but it's gonna be worth it. I'll be able to
this
make
is
it
a
back.
big moment.
I'll get another paycheck, and this is
exactly
important.
right. So like literally everything could have happened at the worst moment possible. But after I made sure that I was, for the most part straight, I had enough left over to where I could kind of cool it for about 2 months before I'm like, all right, I gotta get a check in like the next 2 weeks or I'm gonna miss a bill. So
Right.
I had decided to take like 30 days to kind of just focus on my independent stuff, doing the freelance thing, while also working on this internet challenge with Nicole. And towards that ended up falling through because she ended up having a little bit of trouble like balancing the challenge that we were doing with also her personal brand that was kind of growing exponentially at the time. And she made, her living off of her, social media presence and everything. So after that ended up happening, I ended up just doing some like light contract work here and there for about a couple weeks before I had reached out to my now boss and the founder of QuirkChat, B Law. She had actually reached out to me on LinkedIn months before, back when I was still working at that company. And we had set up like a tentative meeting just to kind of catch up and talk. But after everything happened, I just kind of reached back out to her while I was also like interviewing at a couple other places, and the rest is pretty much history, man. She invited me out to join her at a startup boot camp. Not a startup boot camp. It was like a startup founders kind of boot camp.
Like an accelerator?
Yeah, it's kind of like an accelerator. Yeah, because it was hosted by a venture capital firm. They
awesome.
They sponsored her to come through because they were trying to build up a lot of Black founders and people in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So she had offered to fly me out over there, see how we work together, get to know her team and the product they were building and everything, and we hit it off. And then she brought me on as CTO.
Oh, that's dope.
That's awesome.
That is dope.
That's fucking amazing, man.
Hell yeah.
What's
so you work remotely? So the company is in Tulsa and you just work remotely right now, or?
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, you don't want to move to Tulsa? What's wrong with Tulsa?
With the Black Wall Street?
Honestly, I'll be real.
Greenwood.
So my experience going to Tulsa was not at all how I expected, right? Because like I had like my high level understanding of like the historical significance of Tulsa and like, but also like of Oklahoma and like what I had my expectations of what it would be like
Tumbleweeds
going there.
and
Yeah,
cowboy
exactly,
hats. Gotcha.
exactly, right? You know, a Western film with some modern, slightly modern buildings, right?
Yeah, modern buildings, right? But the Western, but the Cowboys are still there.
Yeah.
You done.
So I get there, right? And they fly. I got she bought me a hotel in downtown or whatever. And they're like all their offices and stuff are in this small little downtown area. There's like one part of Tulsa that's pretty built up, that where the government has their building and everything. And a lot of stuff there was really nice, surprisingly. Like I could tell that the downtown area was all they had, and you know, but they're rapidly expanding. But apparently there's a guy down there by the name of Kaiser. He has a whole foundation. He's like this millionaire who is literally just pouring money into the community to try and rebuild up the Black Wall Street. So Tulsa, in tandem with the Kaiser Foundation and a couple of other like Black venture capitalist firms, are offering all these kinds of programs and incentives to Black founders and startups and stuff to try and rebuild the presence there. And when I'm talking like incentives, like they're giving like remote workers $10,000 for the first year if they move there, which if you look at rent prices there, that's basically a year free rent. They're giving you free office space at one of their co-working companies. They have all kinds of incentives and benefits for like startups who are trying to get funding and stuff. So like, needless to say, I went there expecting one thing, and I was wildly impressed with the amount of like beautiful Black people that I was seeing in a professional setting who were all making stuff happen in their own ways with their businesses and their companies. And then the bootcamp experience itself was pretty awesome.
What's up?
All right, so Blerdimension team, let's move to Tulsa. Suave.
I mean, yeah, I think only one of us need to go. So
okay, all right.
You're in a place you don't like, Tech. So go ahead and.
I'm not. I am in a place I don't like, but I'm positive we should probably just send Beast. He needs to get out of the government space anyway.
Oh, that's true.
Absolutely.
We need to save him.
Absolutely.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
And I mean, 10,000. You know, he'll be fine. Yeah. He can live off of that for a month, for a year as he.
A year?
Is 10,000 after taxes?
I don't think it would matter. You starve either way. It's my business. It's my point. You can't live off that for a year.
He'll be just fine.
Maybe about 6 months.
No, you can't. 6 months? No, I give you 3 or 4. You can stretch 4. If you sleep out of your car, you might be able to get 6.
Survive on that on 6 months. We need to talk on how to get.
I say like what you spending? I'm trying to spend like you. Because here's the thing, like you gotta reframe your stuff, right? Because like I don't know where you guys all stay, but like I moved from Charlotte, North Carolina to Washington D.C. and like the cost of living difference in all forms of fashion has increased tenfold, right?
Yeah.
But looking at
very expensive city.
But looking at Tulsa, like, yo, when you go back and like you look at stuff that's cheaper than where you were living before, that you already considered cheap, you realize that you can make your money stretch very far, very easily. I mean,
far.
It's not like going to South America, but it's definitely doable. You know what I mean?
Look, I moved from 100%. Florida to Virginia, and when I was looking at the prices for housing, I said I am paying a mortgage.
You are.
And absolutely. I need to.
This is a nice house for $185.
I mean, no matter where you go, you're paying a mortgage. Like, if you compare it to the cheapest place in America.
No, so,
but
you literally are paying a mortgage because they're paying a mortgage, and you need to cover that as a renter. So
yeah, you're paying more than a mortgage. Trust me.
Absolutely.
You're paying a mortgage plus a little bit of money in their pocket. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I realized how
that's why I told you before, you should just buy an apartment up there. And I mean, hey, after you've found the one ready to sell that motherfucker.
We'll see what happens.
So, what's it like being you in the tech industry, Joe? Like you're young. You're the youngest CTO I know. You're Afro Latinx, I'm assuming. You know, I mean, we've been letting you say nigga this whole time. I hope I'm right
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. That's absolutely true. I mean, like,
You can't make
Latinos are
sense.
black, so
no,
Hey, not all of them. Not all of them.
no.
Not all of them.
You,
Not
you
all of
can't
them.
extend blackness to
I
only
would
Yeah.
say
Latinos.
you can't. You can't.
Nah, it's
right?
plenty of white ones.
I
There's
would
plenty
say,
of white
of
ones.
course. I'm just saying. No, I'm saying lineage wise. Yes, they have some lineage of black.
Lineage wise,
That's-
everybody's
It's-
black. JK.
Yeah,
That's true.
we
Exactly,
can't start
JK.
talking about nah.
The-
This man
I'm
trying to
not
dig
saying-
into the genome and shit.
I'm not saying JK with another bad take. All right,
We about to
Maurice.
have to modify Blerd King.
Blerd King.
We really
This
do.
nigga want to
Blerd King and
he
Blerd
wants
fail.
to
We gotta have both
downvote
of them.
niggas so
Downvote.
bad.
He wants to downvote.
It's like Reddit
Facts.
instead of it becomes Reddit now.
Facts. Look,
Oh
Maurice.
man.
Shut your ass up over there.
He said he wants to downvote so bad.
Oh, man.
So bad.
Give me a dislike button. I want to dislike
another
shit.
light skinned nigga fucking up the works. That's what
Wow.
No,
Damn.
full disclosure, I'm half black, half Mexican.
Oh wow.
Gotcha.
He said, man said Elizabeth.
Hey,
you said that. I didn't say none of that shit.
She's Native
You said that.
American, Mario.
Oh, my-
Pocahontas.
That is super racist. Well, I guess
Terrible.
Native Americans technically
I too am half
I
black
too
and half
technically
Mexican.
have heritage
I'm
relations
good.
with Mexicans.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
man. But
That's terrible.
to answer your
yes.
question, I mean, here's the thing, right? Because like, it's first off, it feels really weird saying like, oh yeah, I'm a CTO, because like, yeah, I'm a CTO, but when you say CTO, people think like CTO of Google or of
Right.
like, you know, a FANG company. Is like,
You have a
I'm
nice
not
suit?
like,
You have a nice suit that you wear occasionally. Like
I do have
just
a nice
around-
suit.
just around the house because you.
No,
since
not
you're
around the
Oh,
house.
no.
He's got to go to the board meetings.
You
He's
have
still got to go to board meetings.
exactly.
You gotta have a
show
nice
up to
suit
the
as a
board
CTO.
meetings.
Yeah, I definitely have some suits.
See, he's got suits. He's a CTO.
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty
Nah, but it's one of those things where like when I tell people, I feel like I feel like I have an obligation to kind of curb the enthusiasm. So I'm trying to work on that. I don't know why.
It's like
I feel
CTO.
Hell no,
but-
you own that shit. Yeah, I'm a CTO at 25. Fuck you.
What's
But
with
that's
the
like
hostility though? They
exactly-
might just be
that's-
surprised. You don't gotta.
That's my attitude 100%.
Look, get a business
getting sweaty.
card with gold leaf on it. CTO.
Exactly.
Okay,
Holy
okay.
Okay.
He said
Trinidad
go all the
James.
way.
The high
And
poundage
The
card
soft
stock,
touch.
too.
Yeah.
The high
Oh, yeah.
poundage card stock. Do not go for that low poundage stuff.
No.
Exactly.
You deserve better
That
as a
should better
CTO.
last in somebody's wallet.
I mean, they wouldn't believe you if you handed them some flimsy card. Like, you-
Exactly. This motherfucker's
I'm
a
a
CTO,
CTO.
sure.
Hey, look, fuck all that. Do you?
See, the man print his cards on rice paper.
No.
Can't believe you're a CTO.
Yeah, he said rice paper. I said, do you? And they'll believe you. That's on them.
Oh no,
Yeah,
no,
that's-
no, no.
yeah.
Definitely,
Yeah, we're
definitely
gonna-
get the good business cards. You want to brag about that
100%.
shit, in my opinion. 100%.
Nah, be
You know,
humble
it's
with it.
interesting because like, I
Nah,
don't-
see, I hate that be humble shit. No, I really do. I mean, be humble to a certain extent, right? But at the end of the day, we're not in positions like that enough to where we have to be humble. Like, it just we're not. And to have that and be a full like funded black startup team, brag about that shit.
When I say,
Talk
when I
about
say
that
like be
shit
humble
everywhere.
I mean by be humble, I'm saying like,
Mhm.
say like, oh, what do you do? Oh, yeah, I'm CTO. Oh, what are you CTO? Yeah, man, I'm CTO, man. I run
Yeah,
this shit.
motherfucking
And
CTO,
then keep going.
bitch.
And that's all you gotta do.
No,
See,
don't
Don't
do
do
what
what
Tech.
Tech
Don't
doing.
hey listen,
Don't do
don't
what
listen
Tech
to these
doing.
hostile ass niggas.
Yes. just be yourself, and the shit will come out. And be like, oh,
Yeah,
you
that's true.
CTO?
It's
I
it's better
see it.
to like
Okay.
you don't have to curb it, but at the same time, like don't be.
Look, have a Vistaprint budget. Vistaprint budget.
Exactly.
You got to spend a certain amount of dollars on that heavy stock.
This man
Yeah,
said he
the
put
license
gold
plate.
print
Gold
on
leaf.
his damn card.
yeah,
Okay,
you,
Gold
yeah, you want
expert.
that gold leaf.
Absolutely.
No, but yeah, man. I mean, so in terms of like my experience in the tech industry right now, I will say that being a CTO, obviously, like, was I prepared? No, not at all. But I was ready to not be prepared because it's crazy how well things fell into place. Because after, like I said, I kind of mentally reset after leaving the startup, which it was called YesFit. I had decided that I knew what I wanted, right? Because at the time, like every position I had been in up until that point, I put my all in. I always like tried to give 150%, and I was very much I very much wanted to be able to be in a position where I had enough freedom to drive a high impact into whatever I was doing, whether I was working directly on a product or a subset of a product. But I just knew that I wanted to feel like the work that I was doing directly led to either a product succeeding or failing, right? Because that when you have that level of impact or influence, that's when you really can say like, oh yeah, my work matters. Like, not to say that other people's work doesn't matter if you're just doing
Right.
like low level like grunt work or just coding or completing the tasks that are assigned to you, but I want to have
No,
more
where doesn't?
leadership or influence, right? So when B had offered me the opportunity to join our team, on one hand, like I was like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome because like I really like the product. I really believe in what it is, and it's something that I personally would have wanted when I was younger. Hell, even now. But I also saw that opportunity to be in that position where I have a lot of influence, where I drive a lot of impact, where I'm involved in making decisions that directly lead to a product succeeding. So I'm really grateful for that. But I ended up leading up to when I was getting ready to start. When I tell you, I was like literally trying to force feed so many courses on anything that I thought might have been relevant that I hadn't touched before. Like leadership stuff, I feel like I'm pretty good at because I worked before I got into the tech industry. I was working a lot of sales jobs. I had a lot of mentorship in terms of leadership and everything, but in terms of like dealing with some of the more higher level stuff, like systems engineering or software architecture, dealing with cloud native applications and the stuff that your typical like junior, mid, or sometimes senior people at certain companies don't touch if they're not directly working with it. I wanted to make sure I was kind of
Right.
at least familiar with the setup around that. So I had a lot of fun like going through a lot of courses, preparing myself for the job that I had. Because the reason why she brought me on is like the current version of the app that they have out is working, but it's not amazing. Most startups, when they're creating their prototype or they're creating their MVP or their alpha version of the app, they usually outsource the dev work or whatever, and the company they outsourced it to this time has not done the best work. And basically they wanted to say again.
Comfortable naming names?
Yeah. So Tops Inflow Solutions is the actual company based out of India. I've heard good reviews from them. I've heard bad reviews. They've been recommended to some people and completely denied by others. But basically, the subset of the team that we had, or that B had before I had joined, created the application, and it has a PHP backend, and it's a couple of different. It has Swift for the iOS app and a little bit of Java / Kotlin for the Android version. And like I said, the app works, but there's a lot of like UI, UX issues that are really prevalent across the app. And then there's a lot of security issues with the backend and a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed. But maintaining it is becoming really expensive for an offshore company when we want to start building our in-house tech team. So the reason why she brought me on is because I had a lot of experience in the tech stack that she wanted to use. And yeah, the rest is history. I just been leading the charge on that.
Nice. What stack is that?
So right now, the current priority is basically rewriting the mobile app. So I'm rewriting the mobile app in React Native for velocity and for flexibility, because one of the main things that is, in my opinion, like holding back QuirkChat as a company is having the agility and the flexibility to rapidly develop new features, experiment, and test things out. Before with Tops, they took a long time when it came to developing new features or even fixing bugs. And every time they pushed out a new feature, a lot more bugs were introduced. So it ends up severely, reducing the agility you have as a company when you want to be able to experiment in that phase that you're in. So when it comes to rewriting the app, the idea is, since I can rewrite it in React Native, we can work on having a smaller in-house team that's able to develop for both platforms, both Android and iOS, while still retaining a lot of that flexibility and agility of being able to experiment with different feature sets or different products that we can plug and play and A/B test and things of that nature without having to worry about writing for two separate code bases. Ideally, later down the line, I'm going to rewrite the backend as well with everything's already hosted on AWS, which I'm very comfortable and familiar with because I've been using that for the last like 4 or 5 years. So the plan is just to basically replace that PHP backend, which is really bad, to a Node.js one with both EC2 instances and a couple of like serverless functions and things of that nature. But
I got
That's a
questions.
high
I got
level.
questions.
Oh, here we go.
So, yeah. So in this role is my first time. My current role is the first time I'm full time in AWS, right?
Mhm.
So, most of the stuff I'm working on is Lambda, and we do have a few things that are EC2. What's your thought around when you decide, okay, this should be on an EC2 instance versus, okay, let's do Lambda here? What's your thought on that?
So for me at a quick high level, when I'm trying to decide whether or not I want to use a serverless function versus a actual EC2 container, in my mind, serverless functions are good at doing these quick one-off jobs that can easily scale, right? With an EC2 system, like we have our web servers hosted via our PHP web server on an EC2 instance. If I'm running like a larger API, I would prefer to run it on an EC2 instance because I can have everything deployed in there. But you wouldn't want to run an entire web server out of a bunch of Lambda functions just because you increase your complexity. With Lambda functions, it's almost like working with microservices, right? The more microservice you have, the more you have to worry about how you handle deployments for each service and how they interact with each other and things of that nature. What I've learned based on my research when it comes to dealing with serverless functions, if you try and do everything serverless, there are benefits. Like, for example, typically your costs are going to be lower than hosting like a big EC2 instance, but you're increasing the complexity of whatever you're trying to deploy on there just because they're all separate containers that may or may not have to interact with each other. Like, for example, a lot of people will have, for one example, like we do a lot of video processing on our app because it's a video-based social media application, right? So if I want to have a video encoding worker with another like translating or like captioning worker that does captions for those videos that are encoded, and I put them both on two separate serverless functions, one that handles like the video encoding, one that handles the captioning, and then I'll have them communicate with an API to receive it on the phone or whatever. You end up increasing your complexity by having a bunch of different services and workers that have to work together just because you're putting them in these instances that can spin up and shut down whenever they need to. The benefits of serverless is that they scale really easily. You don't have to do a lot of configuration for that. But you also have to consider the drawbacks of cold start time. If you have something that needs to be ready, instantly, because the nature of how Lambda functions work, they have a very brief startup period that could add delays or latencies if you're working with like a bunch of a really long queue of a bunch of requests and things of that nature. So long story short, it depends on how much complexity you want to add to your app. Sorry, also full disclosure, I am ADHD, so I will quickly jump context from one thing to another. So I'm trying to be cognizant of that, so that way I'm not just like rambling on forever.
No,
That's our normal thing, so don't worry about it.
yeah.
No, you're good.
Don't worry, Swab will pin it.
We're gonna have to bring you back when we do like just
he'll
a
pin it.
full like
Wow.
tech
That's
episode.
about to come out right now.
Swab will pressure point the hell out of your point.
Put it in there.
That
We'll
is
come back
not
to
true.
As soon as you hear, I will come back to that.
It's like a blow dart. It's like the thing just falls dead.
Yeah. You
That is not true. I would never do that to you guys.
You seen Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
When Peacemaker, he's like, yeah, that's one. Dead.
Wow.
That's Waff.
Untrue. Untrue.
I've seen it happen.
I resent that. I've
seen it happen. I've seen the man kill a point with my own eyes.
I've seen this since season 1.
So one of the questions I have for you, since we're on the general being, CTO in the tech stack, do you feel like it also leads into kind of our pre-show conversation, now that you've had this title, that you'll be able to move forward to being a CTO at like another startup in the future, say you decide to leave QuirkChat?
I've wondered that, right? So like, again, with the fact that I'm working at a startup, anything could happen. Right. So especially after coming from my last experience, I'm like, all right, I gotta make sure I have a backup plan just in case.
You don't trust nobody.
Emergency fund is ready to go.
So that's why I believe in my jobs.
So I've definitely considered that, and I've wondered that myself. I think what it comes down to, it depends on the position and at what company, right? Because when you start, at least from my perspective, when you start hitting a lot of these higher level roles, specifically C-suite or VP roles, they require a lot more contextual knowledge and experience rather than very specific skill sets, right? So, for
Right.
example, as an engineer, as long as I show up to a company that like the company puts out a rec for somebody who has experience in this tech stack, and you meet 70% of requirements or 50% of requirements, all right, cool, I'm gonna go interview, right?
Right.
As somebody in a C-suite or a VP role, your requirements are a lot more vague. They're more so like, hey, we're looking to bring the product from point A to point B. Your job is to figure out the strategy on how to get there. You got to
Right.
be able to communicate and work with X and Y teams. You got to be able to set a plan, hold people accountable, and you're going to be judged on either how close or how much further past the mark you were able to get that.
Right.
So when it comes to like just directly applying to C-suite roles or VP roles, for example, I also believe that it requires a lot more of like networking. Like I'm not gonna just be able to. At least I don't believe. I haven't personally tried, but again, from my perspective, I'm not gonna be able to just go on LinkedIn and hit apply to every a CTO role. Right? That's something
Right.
where a board at a larger company is going to say, hey, we're looking to hire a CTO and we want to have X, Y, and Z capabilities. Unless I'm going to another startup. If I'm going to another startup and they're putting out a rec on like AngelList or something, then it might be, a little bit more accessible. But for the most part, at larger companies, it's going to require a lot more networking, and you have to really be able to talk the talk, in my opinion, to really come across as, hey, I'm the type of person that's good for this particular job or meeting whatever objectives you guys have for your company.
So I guess the follow up with that then, would you want to find yourself in a CTO position like this again?
I think so. I really
Yeah.
enjoy having to touch a lot of different areas or solve these more highly complex problems that aren't as simple as like, oh, slap a library or slap this npm package or slap this NuGet package on it and let's just create our solution. When it comes to actually breaking down the objective and building a roadmap to getting there, and having to collaborate with one or more teams to collectively reach that goal, I really enjoy that. I feel like I've grown into more of a people person, especially having coming from sales roles in the past, and
Right.
actually leading teams in the past. I feel like I really enjoy being able to collaborate and to feel like I'm able to leverage my skill set and the skill sets of others to deliver really good results or drive a high impact into whatever objective it is for whatever company. So I think I would definitely try it again.
So that's
Good
what's up.
shit, man.
So what's so you mentioned you like the solving the problems. What else is like attracting you to this role? Like, do you enjoy the mentorship aspect? Do you have an opportunity to mentor folks? What else about like your role day to day that's like you think is pretty amazing?
So I love the ability to mentor for sure. That's something I've kind of been doing on the side, thanks to my YouTube channel. Like I've created videos about getting into the tech industry, about the nuances that I've experienced as somebody who's worked, in front end positions and full stack positions, coming from, a non-traditional background or having no degree. And then at QuirkChat, we hired our first engineer. Her name's Tika, and she's been kicking ass. She also graduated from a boot camp called Grace Hopper, which is a boot camp that's dedicated to getting more women and non-binary women into tech.
Oh yeah.
So that's actually been really cool to be able to work with her, and she's been exceeding all my expectations out the gate. But being able to mentor her and like some of the more higher level patterns and practices that I've learned, and seeing her implement that and grow rapidly as a developer has been really cool. I have a couple of people that I mentor overseas as well. There's this one kid that I mentor over in Kenya. His name's also Joel. Funny enough, and being able to see his growth since we started talking. Man, we started talking like what 8 months ago. Being able to see his growth from like being completely self-taught to getting his first couple freelance gigs and contracting, and now he's applying to a couple of different jobs, and watching his growth as a developer with his personal projects has been really cool. And that's something that I do want to be able to do more of. I'm trying to figure out how I want to approach that, like because ideally I would want to do something like that at scale, but I feel like when you start scaling things like that up, you kind of lose touch with the individuals that you're trying to impact. So there's that trade-off I'm still trying to figure out. But as far as like being able to mentor people in the role of like a CTO or any manager position, that is something that I do really enjoy.
Are y'all hiring any front-end developers?
Not yet. Hopefully, if we can secure a lead for this funding round, we'll be able to hire a bunch of developers. Because right now, it's a 2-man team. It's me and Tika doing the rewrite in React Native, so that's been fun.
And if you guys need any security people, holler at me.
Listen, man, we're trying to bring on some blockchain engineers. We're trying to bring on some ML engineers. We're trying to bring on some front end, back end people.
Hey, calm down. Wait a minute. There's some LinkedIn
Maybe with that
profiles
blockchain
out here.
engineer role.
Calm down.
There's some LinkedIn.
I don't think you want to bring us.
Hey,
Can I be your
corp?
chief information security officer? Can I do that? I got you.
I don't think you want him to be the.
Wait a minute.
I got
So
you.
You just trying to.
wants to put CIS on his shirt. That's
He
it.
really,
Absolutely.
he really just wants to do exactly. He's like,
He
well,
wants to be
if Josh can be a CTO, why can't I be a CIO?
Yeah, so.
Well, listen, I've been doing this shit for a minute now. 9 years plus in leadership for 5 now.
We've had a whole conversation right before this thing about like all experience is not created equal.
My experience is
Just
damn
got
near
your
created
driver's
equal, I'll tell you.
license. You trying to be a sizzle?
Listen, I'm trying to be a sizzle. You know what? We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it off podcast. When it comes time, float my name to the CEO. Let her know.
Do you have any gold leaf cards? Any gold leaf business cards?
I don't. But
okay, then why are we even talking about
this?
Hey, let's talk about it, bro.
Tell him, Tech, Vista Prince, a click away, bro.
Yeah, click away. Click away.
So I see a gold leaf, heavy poundage.
Listen, if I can manage,
I don't think you can do the job.
At the top, what was it, like four positions, and 3 of those positions leadership positions? I can manage a security operation at a startup.
Being the leader of anyone makes me uncomfortable. Just to be fair,
my team loves me. Every team I work with loves me. Thank you very much.
You sure that's not fear and not
Those motherfuckers work.
These guys gonna dox us if we don't.
The way he said that, he cracks the rip like he's a damn slave owner. So
he threatens them with doxing. He's like, "Do you want everybody to know exactly where you live?"
Yep.
This better be done by the end of the day.
Be done by the end of the day.
Thank you.
And then we can put a pin in this. But it was hysterical because like one of the juniors that I recently hired, right? I have this like Discord channel that I'll keep for a few like juniors, just like talking about mentorship. The juniors that I find interesting, that I find that I can help, who are in general the same path I'm in, or are working the same tech stack as you guys would say. And he was playing Apex during a meeting with one of our gov reports, and because you can, it says playing Apex. And I just found that so funny. I was like, "You're only a junior. You have some balls, some real balls right there, mate."
Wait, so like, do y'all use Discord for like team communications or?
No, it's like again, like if I have this like little mentor group that I'm a part of with Blacks in cybersecurity, and so I'll send them invites like, "Hey, here," and then I have all of my little junior sec engineers. And so I saw his name as we were on like in this call, right? And it says playing Apex Legends. I'm just like, balls. And so I
relax.
So I pinged him like on Teams, and I was just like, "What you doing, man?" And he's just like, "I'm just paying attention to this meeting." I was like, sure you are.
Send him a screenshot.
Yeah, send a screenshot. Playing Xbox.
No, I pinged him on Discord. I was like, "Yeah, paying attention to this meeting. All right."
It's funny because we just I convinced most of the team to switch from Slack to Discord for now, just because a problem with Slack right now is like if you start paying for Slack Pro, they charge you per user, right? And we have a lot of people. Yeah, they do. They charge you like $8 per user. Just so you can have an archive of your message history, because otherwise they'll like cut your messages off past a certain point, and to be able to have huddles, which are basically like voice chats, temporary voice chats. But the biggest thing, reason why that was important to us, is because we use Slack Connect a lot, which is basically where you can connect to other people in different workspaces, even if you're not on the same team. So a lot of professionals will end up using that. But the problem, it was started running where Slack started charging us like a shit ton of money because we had all these users in our Slack workspace. Mind you, most of them are contractors. Or, for example, a lot of the Tops team just in our Slack workspace. And we were getting charged for everybody on there. So they ended up like cutting it off and creating a whole separate Slack workspace. So now we have 2 workspaces for QuirkChat. And I was like, this is annoying. Why don't we just like, for our internal stuff that's not like crazy like high level, we move over to Discord, we get all those Slack Pro features for free, voice chats, rooms, all the different, it's pretty much the same setup. And just use our Slack workspace for our more high level professional connects and things of that nature. And it made me think, like, I wonder why more companies don't do that. I imagine there are like more like other reasons why, but it's pretty funny that the reason why I brought that up is because I do all my development work on my Mac computer, but I have my gaming PC that's on all the time, and sometimes I'll leave games running. So like I noticed the other day, like while I was like doing some stuff, I was actually talking to Tika. And I noticed that in the corner, it says that I was playing like GTA, or I think I was playing GTA or Apex because I just left it on in the other room. And I was like, I wonder if anybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, look at this guy. He's just playing games all day.
He's playing games
Look
all
at the
day.
CTO playing games.
CTO playing games.
Somebody absolutely thought that. They didn't say nothing, but they thought it.
Well, now you can make
Again, and if I join the team, that's exactly what you and I can do throughout the day. Like
That's my
we go from
Already
meeting to
you know what?
Apex
We're going to put a pin in that.
Or we gonna put a pin in this,
Already
but
back.
Hit him with the blow darts.
Look,
Got
another log for Jay week for you. That needs to happen right there.
I'm about to say, Joel, you can.
I need to create like
accounts
a
now.
button for Suave, right? And it's just gonna be like this button that just maps to this one little thing on Discord, or like for the stream. When he hits it, it literally puts a pin icon on the screen on the stream, and then that's how we know to shut the fuck up and move on to the next topic.
Called Steam Deck.
Steam Deck, Raspberry Pi. You can probably program a Raspberry Pi to do that. Arduino might be able to do that. Yeah, there's
instead of like a that's easy button, it would just be like a pin button.
Wow.
Or is just gonna say,
we need
or is just gonna say, shut the fuck up and move on.
Wow,
the hostility.
For real.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yo, text toxicity is spreading.
No, I mean,
they've been like that.
Yeah, they're equally toxic.
100%.
I'm not toxic.
So let's. You're absolutely. Let's talk about QuirkChat a little bit. So like, what is it? Who is this for? Like, I briefly signed up like a long time ago, long before like you were CTO, and I was like, what is this?
Sounds
and
like
I left.
people in My Hero Academia would use it to communicate with each other.
That's exactly what I thought too. I was like, it's hilarious when you make that comparison, because that's exactly what I thought when I first
all
saw
my
it.
QuirkChats endeavor all the time.
Yeah, like it feels like that would be like the social network for My Hero Academia.
Yeah,
it does sound like that. Essentially, what QuirkChat is, it is a social media network that it's actually a video focused social media network. So imagine like TikTok, but you have more personal conversations around specific topics. And the point of QuirkChat is to be able to give geeks the ability to find their community around certain fandoms. So whether you're into like anime or K-pop or Marvel versus DC, or you're into gaming or the tech space, is meant to be able to bring people together through social media using video as the medium. Obviously, like any other social media platform, video is not the only way that people can interact. There are like text-based communications, and funny enough, before it became more of a generic social media app, it started off as a dating app before they actually pivoted the idea. Yeah, right. So but yeah, I mean, so the biggest idea is that the way it was explained to me when I first started was, you have a lot of people, specifically like a lot of Black and alternative people, who get into different geek fandoms, right? Whether that's comics, whether that's anime, whether that's gaming, whatever the case, you have those alternative communities or alternative BIPOC communities that try and find other people like them, right? So I'm thinking back to like me in high school. I'm that, black kid that's into like white people shit. I like listening to rock music. I like watching the anime. I like playing games. Well, games was kind of universal, but I was into a lot of
Only
stuff, and I
white
wanted to
kids could
try.
afford it.
Yeah.
Facts. I remember going to friends' houses just to play it. Nah, right. So essentially,
yeah.
a lot of these people try and use the internet to try and find their community. Can't really find them locally. Like I grew up. There was a time in my life where I was living in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I wish I could burn that city to the ground, but
Oh my goodness.
yeah. I went to a lot of like primarily white institutions for schools, and I didn't have a lot of people that looked like me that were into the stuff that I was into. So that's what kind of drove me into like trying to meet people online back when the internet was really starting to bud and grow. And one of the things that people like me were trying to do was find their community in different spaces using different social media platforms. MySpace was a thing, then Tumblr became a thing, then Reddit became a really big thing. And a pattern that a lot of people would experience is people like us would try to congregate on a specific platform. We'd meet a few people, get excited, we start building a community, and then for one reason or another, one or two things ends up happening. Either A, we have a lot of racists and a lot of trolls who would try and come in and like, trash community, grief people, and like, force them off the platform through, malicious acts. Or the platform itself would not serve our community to the same capacity that it serves other people, right? A prime example of this right now is like TikTok, because the next, right now it's one of the top platforms. You have how many times are you on TikTok? You see a video of some black creator talking about how their content was copied, they weren't credited, or their content's being, targeted by racists because everybody's reporting them, but when they report somebody else, nothing happens. A lot of these platforms are not created and designed to cater to us, or to even prioritize our voices. So one of the founding pillars of QuirkChat is not only for it to be a space for people like us to find our community, but to also feel empowered to have different tools to self-moderate. So that way we make sure that we are receiving the same level of treatment and the same level of power and same level of empowerment as everybody else in the community. So that way we're creating that community that's a lot safer for us and can be that new home, if that makes sense.
Nice.
So
no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But
are there any
it's
open
pretty
source
sick
things that you guys are involved with or contribute to,
Say
or
again, Carl?
any open source projects?
Not at the moment. So the team right now, like I said, the team is really small, and pretty much the first version that's currently out of the app was built by a team overseas, and I really hope they weren't contributing to any open source stuff. But as we rebuild
PR's got rejected.
as we rebuild the app,
again, Carl, it's just us right now. It's me, Axel, the new hire we just brought on. It's
This
small
nigga suddenly part of the company. Like
He
we
got
started
hired real
with
quick.
him wanting to be CISO, and now he just is. Like
He sounds more like co-owner. Like the way
like-
he's
in like
talking.
30
I'm
minutes.
trying to build out the security team.
He's like, hold
my
up.
man,
So let me
flexing
answer
the
this question.
manifestation hard.
Absolutely, in the span of 30 minutes, went
exactly
from wanting
right.
to be
I'm
hired
working with
to being in the
Hacker
boardroom.
One to get the bug bounty program set up, because you
Oh
got to
my
get
gosh.
that set up. Listen, I can do that for you.
Now
Boy,
he's back to interviewing again.
Right.
It's crazy.
Oh.
boy, when did we turn into Walt Disney?
Yeah.
Dreams can
But,
come true,
So-
huh?
As we continue building the app, it's inevitable that we're going to end up having to use different open source technologies, because I'm a really big fan of open source. And I also want to contribute a lot more to open source packages and technologies, just because that's something that I've always heard about doing, and I've always kind of like looked into, but never actually done. So I'm definitely a big fan of like looking for those opportunities wherever possible. Like, for example, one of the places that I'm really interested in like exploring is there's a lot of like uses of location services and apps like this. For example, we have a feature called Friend Finder, which allows you to find users that are within your vicinity of like, within your city or something like that. It doesn't give anybody any like, specifically like
Precise.
PII data or anything like that.
Basically.
But it allows you to like discover users who are in your community that also happens to be, interested in a lot of things that you may be interested in. So, and then when I'm thinking about the process of how we're going to re-architect that in the new app, the main question is like, which API we're going to end up using, right? Most people default to using Google. I'm a really big fan of OpenStreetMaps only because it's open source and it's starting to rapidly scale in terms of its competitiveness with Google. There's certain things where they just don't have the technology yet. Like for example, one of the things I was actually researching earlier today was whether or not OpenStreetMaps had a service that was comparable to Google Places API. So for those of you who don't know, Google Places is what's powering the auto completes when you're typing like your address and it pops up a bunch of different addresses for you to select it, so you don't have to finish typing it all in. That's Google Places. Unfortunately, OpenStreetMaps doesn't have that yet. So you have to like use a bunch of other third-party packages that are paid, and you have to basically go down that rabbit hole. But I've actually been looking into ways that I can personally contribute to OpenStreetMaps, just because I feel like open source projects are going to become a lot more important, especially as we continue to as the world continues to invest in like Web3 technology, and there's an overall continuing emphasis on decentralization of different types of tech, and and how that tech is used. Open source packages are going to be or open source tech in general is going to become a lot more mainstream, in my opinion. And when I say mainstream, I mean like it's going to be a lot more like commonly known, or there's going to be a lot more common awareness for what open source technology is and how it works for a lot of the things that we're using, versus now where it's like either you're into open source stuff or you're not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Kind of more dragging towards sharing and not going to the general stream of finding, I guess, commercialized tech, I guess.
Yeah, just because like the thing about using like hosted platforms or stuff that is primarily like controlled by a specific company, like the walled garden that is Apple or Google or even Amazon in this case, is that you limit your flexibility and you become very dependent on that company. So I mean, Google is notorious for spinning up stuff and killing it not too shortly later. Like people are still mourning the loss of, what was it, Google Plus?
Google Plus, Google Wave,
Google Reader,
Google Reader.
Yeah. Even didn't they have like they had an
Gone too
offshoot
soon.
mail client too? Was it Inbox?
Inbox.
Yeah, Inbox.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They killed that.
Why would you bring that up? Why would you?
By the way, that's why I'm like a Kubernetes fan, and I'm in this company now, and they are 110,000% locked into Amazon. So I'm like, Amazon had an outage. We're only in one availability zone. We are down. No revenue for as long as Amazon was down. Now we could have mitigated that somewhat, being in more availability zones, but like, I'm like, dude, you gotta at least be on multiple clouds. To be Kubernetes is better. Like, if you want to deploy our lambdas on another cloud or on-prem, like that's a rewrite. It's not like a little
architect
tweak.
that? Didn't architect the backups or backup plan?
It's not about so it's not about backup. I guess that would be more of a DR strategy, right? So we don't have a DR environment. We're not multi-zone. So if we were in another zone, we probably would have been straight if we just had one more availability. But even beyond that, like my thought is you should probably have a DR strategy that's probably another cloud or maybe an on-prem data center or something, right?
Right. That's what,
So if you had a DR strategy that is across brand, across clouds, then you can't just deploy AWS Lambdas. That's not the move.
Right.
So that's where you would want a technology like Kubernetes or something non-proprietary, so you have that kind of flexibility.
I think that the hard part with that, I mean, I definitely agree with you, and that's something that I look forward to being able to explore more when I get to when we as a company get to a point where we're ready to start rewriting our backend. Because not too long ago, I was in a school of thought where like, yo, I want everything in AWS. Why? Because it's convenient. Like, there's the trade-off of, hey, if AWS tomorrow decides we're gonna quadruple our price, guess what? You stuck, you paying, cough it up. But at the same time, like there was that convenience of like, hey, everything naturally talks to each other. They're all on the same dashboard. I already am familiar with this side of AWS, so it's easy to get familiar with this side. But like you said, that you start running into the issue of like you're tightly coupling yourself to that service. So if anything does happen, like AWS decides to go down, you got downtime. And depending on how big you are, that could be billions of dollars in revenue loss. Like for example, at the at that other company that I worked at before they laid me off, they had all their eggs in the Facebook basket. Facebook ads crashed. Actually, it was before Facebook ads crashed. iOS 14 released. Facebook lost like what 70-80% of the data that were coming from iPhone users, and then all their ads became ineffective. So companies stopped getting revenue, which is what fueled all the layoffs going down the line. And then Facebook had an outage afterwards that even like killed it for the Android users.
Oh, yeah.
So like definitely not a fan of having all my eggs in one basket. But with stuff like that comes increased complexity, and it always becomes a trade-off of like, do you have both the skill and the will to make, the commitments necessary to make yourself as resilient as possible?
Now, not even just the skill. Like you're like y'all are a 2-person team, like you said.
That's what I'm
It's gotta
saying.
be.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. A skill
you
and
have
the
to
will.
come-
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I would say skill and efficiency.
I'll be a little politician real quick for Kubernetes. You do have to you have to throw your weight behind something, no matter what it is, right? And so to me, you just pick one. I just happen to prefer to pick the one that there isn't lock-in. So I think the truly hard thing would be, okay, multi-cloud and on-prem. If you're gonna have any on-prem, that's really, really tough, right? But
It is.
if you just said, okay, well, I'll do multi-cloud, and then I'll have Kubernetes be the thing, then if you do that, then you just need to learn Kubernetes. And you can replicate things like Lambda. You could replicate things like EC2 instances or databases or whatever. If you just bone up on Kubernetes, and that's like, I'm not saying that that's a small task, but you have to invest in something, and that to me gives you the most flexibility. Nothing's
yeah.
ever a silver bullet, but to me that's the closest thing we have to a silver bullet as far as infrastructure goes, is Kubernetes.
No, I definitely agree. I mean, I will say the only like caveat I would say to that is that, well, yes, you do have like, if you learn Kubernetes, you learn Kubernetes once, and it's pretty much supported on most cloud platforms. It's the learning the other cloud platforms that becomes the overhead, right? Because for example, I don't know how much time you spent learning all the dashboards in AWS. I love AWS's services. I hate their experience.
Oh my
Like
goodness.
navigating through their dashboards is absolutely the worst thing of mankind.
You could teach a class on that alone. I'm sure they
People
do.
teach classes. And
Yeah,
that's
I'm sure
that's
they
the
do.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, so like
getting
you
these
spend all
Amazon
this
certs has
time.
been a pain in the ass because of that dashboard.
So
you
you
spend all
don't
that time
use them.
learning Amazon, and then you go to learn Google Cloud Platform. Google's not that much better. Their consoles, especially like their higher level
Awful.
ones, are
Terrible.
very hard to navigate. So and then
Azure's not
God, Azure looks cool with their dark mode, but there's still, it can be, if you're coming in green and you don't have, like, you have the high level concept of understanding, like, okay, I understand that EC2s and Azure VMs are very similar. They're deployed instances that are hosted on a server. They're, et cetera, et cetera. Or I understand how Amazon's virtual private network is something similar to like Google's I don't know, Google's whatever they have it called. You can draw some of those conclusions, but still learning how to go through the process of setting it up is the tough part. And that's where you get to the point where you have to have the ability to hire people who already know, so you're not spending that overhead in,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Using
so
hire
the-
people who knows how to use it and
the,
use it
the
repeatedly.
difference would be, though, like, okay, so now, right, when you're going into those dashboards, what do you have to set up? You have to set up AD, right? You got to set up different databases, EC2, Lambda, if you're doing monitoring, right?
Cloud Watch.
X-ray, all this CloudWatch, all that stuff, right? Well, you wouldn't do that. You would set up one thing, or maybe two things, because you probably still do need some sort of automation around your accounts, whatever. But you set up one thing, which is some sort of Kubernetes cluster. And then an ideal situation, if you do have on-prem, you will have your super Kubernetes cluster. So you deploy to on-prem, and then that deploys to the cloud. So the developer that's working on any microservice or a database or anything, they don't actually interact with Amazon. They might not even know Amazon's there. They only ever interact with their on-prem or their one super Kubernetes cluster. And then that schedules workloads across any cloud depending, and you could probably have a custom scheduler depending upon, okay, maybe spot pricing, or who has the least latency or whatever. You could get crazy with Kubernetes and making custom scheduler type stuff.
Mm.
But so that's what I'm talking about. Like a very small percentage of your technology staff would have to be super versed in any one of these consoles and or specific clouds. And most of the engineers are skilled at Kubernetes. They deploy to a specific cluster, and then that cluster determines which cloud or on-prem it's the workload's actually going to run on. Now that would be a very challenging thing to set up initially, for sure. I'm not downplaying that, but it would still minimize, like, okay, you need how much super deep knowledge of AWS or Azure or DigitalOcean, whatever crap you're doing, right? You wouldn't
Right.
need as much deep knowledge in any one of those clouds.
Okay. So what's like your vision for the part of QuirkChat that you're responsible for? And I mean just overall.
I mean, my vision is that once we at least
He
my
becomes a millionaire.
yeah, I would love that. My vision right now is just complete the rewrite, get that out there, because I feel like that's what's going to unlock a new level of flexibility and agility for us in terms of like being able to experiment with different features, really hone in on get that product market fit for our particular audience and the user base, and use that to drive as leverage to drive more funding rounds and scale up to be able to implement some of the really more ambitious goals that we have for the app, like finding ways to implement cryptocurrencies and like NFTs for creating like a creator economy in a sense.
That'd be dope.
And it would be awesome, and just using technology to continue to bring all of us geeks together in a way that's fun, engaging, and communal. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of where my vision kind of stops right now. I imagine it's going to continue to grow and evolve over time, which is why I'm not trying to look too far into the future, because the
Absolutely.
goals that we have thus far are already pretty large. But I'm excited to see what it holds. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And so piggybacking off that a little bit, going back to what you said about the location stuff, how are y'all, or I guess how are you? You don't work here. You read this shit. How are you designing for like preventing harassment, protecting like the most vulnerable members like of the BIPOC community, like LGBTQ BIPOC people, like women identified people, and women and or LGBTQ women can also be LGBTQ people. But like especially what made me think about it was the location service thing. Like how are you making sure that you're thinking about, okay, how are people going to abuse this, and how can I make it least satisfying for them to do so that they're less motivated to do so?
Right. So it really comes down to being able to have a high level of thinking about how people interact with the app and how they're going to use the different features, both like commonly and uncommonly. So like whenever I am like thinking about a feature, so for example the geolocation services, right, I'm going to think of it from your typical user, and I'm also going to look at it from a bad actor's perspective. Like if I am somebody who came onto this app who's already, not had their energy completely exacerbated by creating an account, accepting the rules and the guidelines, whatever, going through and trying to find people that I'm interested in, like, messing over in whatever way. How can I make how I try and imagine like how they would try and use different features to try and harm our users. And it's really just about designing the experience to kind of cater to, or designing the experience to provide safeguards against that. So in my mind, the ideal world is like, we live in a world right now where everybody's pretty aware of like privacy and how their personal data is both used and sold. And people are, especially in these communities, are hyper aware of like how accessible or inaccessible they are to people on and offline. So my thought process behind this is making sure that as we continue to incorporate these features to try and bring people together, there is a strong level of opt-in and opt-out of which features that people want to be able to use. Because with everything comes a risk. Obviously, there's a multiple safeguards that we can put in place to try and prevent the certain type of occurrences from happening, but it's impossible to prevent everything, right?
For sure.
So my biggest thing is like, how can I put enough safeguards in place where it's going to discourage people who are just, I guess you could say, casual or even medium level trollers from abusing the system? And then what can I do outside of that puts the rest of the power into the user's hands to be able to let them decide how they choose to interact or not interact with certain people. So for example, one thing that they have with the moderation system is it's a system called like iSecond. So if somebody goes through the process of reporting somebody for, I don't know, let's say they have I don't know, heinous content that they're posting, some type of crazy video that shouldn't be on the app, and for whatever reason the automated system couldn't catch it, somebody reports it. In most larger scale companies, they're going to have some type of algorithm. Like for example, I'm going to use TikTok, right? TikTok has an algorithm that they run in the background that automatically checks for certain types of content, and they'll auto wipe it if it flags it, right? But if somebody actually goes through the process of reporting somebody, there's usually a fork in the road where it runs through an automated system that decides whether or not it's worth bringing down, or you have a human or somebody kind of review it, right? When it comes to like how we do things with QuirkChat, we try and we leverage the community to self-moderate. We're giving the community a lot more power and being able to, as a collective, decide what content should be in this safe place and what content shouldn't. So if somebody does go through the process of reporting, you have like almost like a public poll in which other users can decide whether or not, hey, this content's being flagged for no reason, it's not really worth it, or hey, this content is actually harmful to the community, we need to take it down. So everybody has the ability to as a collective vote on something that, for whatever reason, can be handled by an automated system. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
Most platforms don't put that level of control in the user's hands or even in the community's hands, because obviously you don't want to have like, oh, somebody flags something and then one other person flags it, we automatically take it down, because you have people who might come in a group or have multiple accounts, whatever. But if you have like 10 people who go through and report something, chances are that's a legitimate concern that needs to be addressed. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So just like approaching problems like that from that kind of context is the way that I'm doing it as of right now. Obviously, like as the team continues to grow, I look to other people who maybe have more experience in specializing with content management systems or content censoring systems to be able to input their thoughts, whatever. One of the things I'm also grateful for is that B has a lot of connections with a lot of different people in the industry, just because of like the different accelerators she's participated in and her personal network. So I'll be able to talk to people like, for example, when I wanted to have some more insight in terms of like the rewriting our AWS web servers, I got put in contact with a guy named Mark. He's a senior architect at AWS right now, who is doing like some really big stuff over there, like super high level. I think he's a VP of architecture or something similar like that. And he was just casually answering my calls in Australia, give me like different rundowns on like different patterns of thinking when it comes to like using AWS's tools to build the solutions that you want to build. So being able to tap into her network of a lot of like people in higher places, like even some people like one of the people that's on our advisory board is a VP of Twitch, giving us insights on like how to grow the platform and different things that they're going to be looking for as investors. And just being able to find, if I don't have the information myself and I can't do enough adequate research to make a decision, being able to tap into people who have that knowledge, so that way I can take that and do the best that we can.
That's fucking dope, man.
Absolutely. That's
Like, this is a great position to grow from.
bruh.
My
Like,
God, dude, you are in a great spot right now.
absolutely.
I'm glad you're in that spot too.
Yeah, man. Congrats. That's
Yeah,
I
well,
appreciate
how
it.
glad are you,
As,
Texas?
as
Yeah,
he's
right?
texting that,
Just
How
make sure
glad
you
is
just
he?
watch. Just make sure you just watch.
So
My
glad.
future
for that
position
blessing.
there aside, which I mean
Tech is
is
like
bound to happen, right?
Tech is like
I literally like I downloaded your app as we were talking in my testing bed. I'm gonna start poking at it.
See, this is why you don't. This is why.
I'm sure you guys don't have a bounty program up yet, so I'm not gonna do anything serious. Just more so, just outside looking in.
So,
But yeah, no. Overall, that's fantastic, man. You have a great
just give him a
opportunity.
coding
My
interview.
security bug is like the moment you said it was Riddle's bug, man. I'm sorry. As a friend, I'm not gonna let you get effed over. So
I appreciate it, man. I mean, there's so many things that because we actually before I had started, we had went through and contacted another offshore engineering team that had a really good reputation. They're called Fulcrum, and unfortunately, they were based in
Fulcrum.
Ukraine. They're actually based in Kyiv, and we was actually talking to them to try and because they ended up doing a like a code audit on both the front and the back end for QuirkChat and giving us a report of like, hey, these are the things that we've seen that are good. These things are really bad. These things are like, you need to fix this now. And they were a really cool company to be able to see and work with. And I really hope the guys there and the men and women there are doing okay because, like I said, they're centered in the capital city, and you see how that's going right now.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Hope they got out.
But yeah, me too. But
They are some brilliant hackers.
they really do. But there's a lot of things that I already have like a hit list of things that I want to try and take care of once we get to the process of rewriting, like for example, the backend servers. But I know that a lot of the more apparent vulnerabilities that I'm aware of on the front end are going to be fixed pretty simply with during this rewrite. So, but I definitely would appreciate any feedback, anything you guys, if you guys want to check it out, please do. Because I just want to make it, the best it can be.
No, I got you, man. It's loaded up. I mean, if you've already pinpointed the things that will be fixed in the rewrite, I won't waste too much time on that. But if you want me to poke at the rewrite, I can.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It looks slick though. I like that. I like how it looks.
So one last question I have in regards to the app and how you're building it out, because I know you mentioned the whole TikTok problem, right? TikTok's an Asian-based app. They aren't fond of us, so their algorithms naturally have bias towards us. How are you making sure those biases aren't in what you're writing?
That's something that I'm actually trying to figure out. So here's the thing, right? The algorithms that power QuirkChat right now are I wouldn't even call them algorithms. They're just basic, it's just code, right? It's nothing crazy, nothing like super heavy into like machine learning and stuff. That's something that we aspire to eventually get to. But that's something we have to work towards. Now, how we plan on actually like making sure like those biases don't exist. That's something that I haven't gotten to a point where I can actually actively approach that. That is something I'm heavily aware of. I mean, that's something we're all aware of. We are all aware of, especially since like the entire C-suite it's black. So I think what I'm hoping for is like, on one hand, I really hope this becomes like the app for the black community. And it's hard because like from a starter perspective, especially from one that's trying to get investments, like you can't you can, but it's a lot harder to just be like, oh, we're going to create this app specifically for black people, because obviously we want it to be open for everyone. But I am very much focused on like, yo, how can I make this the space for the BIPOC community? Just because like every time I'm on different apps, I always see content of people saying like, yo, we need to create our own platform. We need to create our own platform. And nobody's done it yet. So I'm in the process now of trying to do that. And when we get to the place where we're actually able to bring on some ML engineers, or if I get to a point where the machine learning process or the algorithm writing process is on my plate and that's something that I can actively research, best believe I'm going to be going through every nook and cranny that I can find to try and figure out how I can make sure that the algorithms that we are writing are not going to be influenced by a lot of the inherent bias that is in a lot of public learning models that are accessible to, most people through, larger means like GPT or something similar.
Right. Okay.
Y'all said BIPOC community. What's BIPOC?
Black, indigenous, people of color. It's
Oh,
just a
okay.
term that's like a blanket term.
Yeah.
Oh, BIPOC, not BIPOD.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I was like
Listen,
BIPOD.
Negro.
I was like, that's new. Is that a new word I gotta learn? Damn.
Yes, man. Is that a yes? Sometimes you got to learn new words.
Oh
I know
my
that's hard
God.
for you.
I know that you do it every day, so it's all good.
Right. So we talked a little bit already about. My bad. Somebody was saying something.
No, I was just saying, wow.
Maurice said 2-leg people. I'm
Wow.
done.
Oh my. I think that's a biped, my guy. Anyway, so that's the E right there. Yeah. We talked a little bit about, your responsibilities already as far as kind of what you do here. Do you have anything kind of to add to that as far as like what you do like day to day, or what you do, anything you haven't said about what you have to do here at CTO that you haven't really got to?
That you can tell
I
us.
mean, not in particular, man. I mean, my day looks very similar to anybody else's that works from home. I wake up at varying times. Sometimes I wake up super early and I'm super productive early in the morning. Sometimes I wake up later and I'm working later into the evening. I drink a lot of coffee. I have a heavy caffeine dependency.
Dang.
And
Do you have an espresso machine at home yet?
I do actually.
Good shit.
That's way too expensive.
That's step one.
But no, I mean, like it's pretty much like what you would expect. It's nothing like crazy like out there. Like I'm not taking Zoom calls in the Bahamas or nothing like that. I mean, I wish I was.
He's not doing it yet.
But
like, we're lucky we're getting them now. Soon, like give him a year from now, and we're gonna be watching like Forbes interviews of him talking about the start of this.
I hope so. I hope that Netflix makes a documentary about me. They're making it about
Exactly.
all these white people that screwed investors over and all these scandals and stuff. Have you seen what's that show? We Crashed?
Yes.
About
Yes.
WeWorked. About
Yeah.
WeWork.
Yes.
I don't think that's
that shit was
Netflix, but yeah,
fantastic.
they
That's
got two.
Apple.
They have
it's
the one
Apple.
on
No,
Hulu
it's
and they have
HBO
We
Max.
Crashed. Yeah, HBO Max and Hulu.
Oh, is
I
that?
think.
Oh yeah.
It's
I
HBO
mean,
Max.
Oh, it's
HBO
We
Max and
for
Apple
Apple.
TV.
Yeah. No,
And
like
then
100%.
Elizabeth Holmes has at least two. Uber has
Yeah.
that one.
Of course.
Mhm.
Theranos.
And you watch these
Wow.
and just
Was that Theranos one? Which was
Yeah,
the Theranos?
Theranos.
That Theranos
Okay.
thing is
Theranos,
wild.
yeah, that
That
thing is
was
crazy.
nuts.
Oh,
my
man,
God.
I'm gonna just
I-
start going up to rich people and be like, "Hey, I got a product idea. I'm
Well,
not gonna
here's
show
the
it to
thing,
you.
right?
I mean,
I'm
take
not
you
gonna
light,
show it
but
to
you
you.
ain't that light.
I know I'm not
Here's
that
the
light.
thing.
I know.
Exactly,
I'm
and that's
aware.
what it is, right? Because like
At
there
the
are
end of the
people
day.
out here who don't look like us, who are pitching literal just poof ideas, and they're getting funded millions.
Do you guys
We
not
just
know
talked
they're,
about
like,
the woman who was a scammer that got deported. Was trying to get all the
facts.
loans off
Oh,
nothing
yeah.
but
You
the
guys not
strength of being
remember,
white.
like
You
it
could
was
you can have a super
fuck.
polished deck.
Anna.
If you're a yes,
Yeah.
what was
Yeah,
it?
Anna's that one.
Making Anna or something like that.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You can have a super polished deck. There's multiple articles that are being written about this right now, which is interesting that now is the time that people are starting to talk more about it. But the plight that specifically Black women have to go through trying to pitch to investors and get funding, like I'm literally watching B go through multiple meetings, and sometimes I'm participating, and sometimes I'm not. But giving killer presentations, doing these crazy ass pitches that are like super polished. She's got it down to a T. And you'll have a lot of investors who be like, "Oh yeah, it sounds good," or like, everything sounds great, but like this one thing is like what's keeping us, or this one thing is like what we're missing, or we definitely are interested. We'll make a commitment, but they'll never wire. But you have like these companies, like everybody's talking about Fast right now, that these people got funded multiple millions with a burn rate that was so fast they crashed in in like 6 months out of nowhere. Like they just
It
plummeted.
was nuts. That was
And like it's just insane. It's just insane, like how much of a disparity there is in the
Yeah.
experience of people like us in all forms, even at this place that is, trying to get investors to give us the time of day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
As far as some people, with Chana, she same problem with HBCU Con.
Yeah,
All right,
funding is a
bringing
hard
on
thing
investors.
for
Yeah.
black creatives and just black companies in general. Funding is a very hard thing. That's why we often have to opt to just bootstrap.
So question about that, and I don't know how much you could share, how much you even know, but uh like how much funding did it take for you guys to get where you're at now? And um is IPO like being talked about? Is there a time horizon around that? So for the first question to me is like, if you were to build up an investor ecosystem that's going to fund our company, since it's so challenging to get it normally, it's good to get a sense of what's actually needed for companies to thrive, not just, okay, yeah, we'll give you 500K. You can't really get a team together with such a small amount of money. But
Mm-hmm.
so I just want to get a sense of like, what does it take, at least at the beginning, from seed to maybe series A, B, and like what's usually the time horizon where you think, okay, maybe we could IPO, or maybe we don't have to raise anymore. We're stable enough to just go, even if you don't want to IPO.
So the thing about that is that it largely depends on the company itself and the industry in which they're trying to operate, right? So the tricky thing about like tech startups, and more specifically with social media startups, is they are 100% driven primarily by funding, right? Because they aren't going to be making revenue very early, at least not very, very easily, unless they're doing some stuff that people are now turning their nose up against, right? Like, for example, selling the shit out of all their user data, or blanketing them, like, face slapping them with a bunch of ads to make said revenue. For QuirkChat, take this with a grain of salt, plus or minus a couple 100K. So we're still technically pre-seed phase. B took QuirkChat through multiple accelerators. I want to say 2 main accelerators. She won awards at TechStars, which is a really big accelerator over on the West Coast.
Congrats.
She got invested in by Snapchat, and then has also been invested in by Pharrell through Black Ambition as an award winner. Collectively, somewhere between 250 and 500. And then they have like a lot of that. It's been between like has also had like a lot of angel investors and things of that nature. So I would say the 250 to 500 range is what's allowed her to be able to hire an overseas company to build the first version of the app, get it published. Because building it's one thing, but then actually going through development and publishing the app, and maintaining it, trying to continue to do updates, and contractors who are doing not only development but design, community engagement, management, payroll, whatever. That was already that's pretty much what's got her here, right? What's got QuirkChat as a whole here. So now we're in a place where now you're bringing on engineers, right? So engineers are going to be the reason why we're trying to do stuff in-house is because having in-house engineers provides, a lot more agility, because you directly control the people that you're working with. You have a lot more investment and engagement on an employee level when engineers are actually working for your company and building your product. They have a lot more, ownership with that, versus like an offshore company who is working on however many projects at once. But with that comes a much higher cost, right? So now your burn rate is going to increase pretty substantially depending on how many engineers you bring on. And that's where you start hitting that cross point of like, can we keep this can we maintain the company while we have the velocity that we have, that because we hired X amount of engineers, right? So to kind of go into your question, the second part of your question is like, what is it that it takes for, I don't know, a black VC firm to be able to start funding a lot of black startups? That all comes down to determining like what type of startups you're trying to invest in and what the climate is within their industries, right? Because like if you're, and I can only speak to this because I've now had the opportunity to talk to a couple of VCs, a couple of larger investors, and being able to see the difference in their investment strategies or their investment theses. So you'll have some people who invest more in like consumer product, and with that, basically you throw up a bunch of money to get a product designed, produced, and then created, and then all you gotta do is sell it, and now you're kind of recouping at least your initial set that you can then rinse and repeat and then scale up from there, right? But when you start dealing with tech startups that don't have, recurring revenue, you're now having to be like, okay, we're funding a dream, right? We're funding an idea. And we know that once it gets to a certain tipping point, yes, we'll be able to scale up really quickly and make a lot of money in the process. But it's a lot harder when you have to get to that point. When you think about Facebook, for example, when Facebook first started, they were very much bootstrapped. They did it on their own. Facebook didn't start making money until they started incorporating a lot of ads once they started having a lot of their users. As their user base really continued to grow and they figured out what their stickiness factor was, I think for them was like if a user signs up and makes adds 7 friends, they're pretty much a really high percentage chance of being an active user on the platform. And being able to take that data and sell it to investors to scale up their systems so that way they can acquire more and more users, and then they release their ads program, which is now their main source of revenue. Now they're worth, billions of billions, right? And and that was before they got into the manufacturing process with their own products like the Quest and other technologies that they're, building in the back end. So, and that's the thing, like we have black VCs out there. Like we have venture capitalists that are, claiming to want to be able to invest in, black startups or, black owned companies or certain, they want to diversify their portfolio or whatever. But what I've noticed and what a lot of people have noticed as of recently, like even if you meet the criteria that they're looking for some reason, like black women specifically, who are the ones really leading the charge in this space, because they are statistically the ones who are most likely to start a business, most likely to bootstrap their own stuff, most likely to put in the the work and the effort. And that's statistics. Like you can look this up on the Small Business Bureau or whatever it's called to actually purely report. They're the ones who are struggling the most getting funding, even from those investors, those VCs who are claiming they want to work specifically with that target demographic. So
are you saying that like, so even though these VCs say we want to work with black women, they're still funding non-black women more?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's hysterical.
And like for us to be able to to create this dream organization or this dream venture capital firm or series of firms that's able to fund all kinds of, black startups in various industries, it would require such a large amount of money.
Yep.
That I'm in no way am I going to say it's impossible, and in no way am I going to say it's, unfathomable in any way. It's just that the challenge is very much there because the amount of people who look like us who have any level of access to that much money, even to start their own VC firm. Let's say you're just starting a simple, $100 million firm, and you create your board, you get your investors, and now you're going through the process of vetting different companies. That's a 10-year process or a 5-year process from your first cohort, because you got to be able to make that money back to invest in more firms.
Right.
Not more firms. I'm sorry, to invest in more startups. Sorry.
Every black athlete / entertainer should adopt a startup. Like it should just $5 million can stop this startup from going hungry for 1 year.
Just start doing those like commercials.
Yes, the music.
Just eating their keyboards and shit. Like
So
Terrible.
Every
correct
day,
me if I'm
these
wrong.
developers.
like every day.
What'd you
This
say,
black
Carl?
startup. And then they show like a poor developer just standing there looking all sad. Like,
Yeah.
Stared off into space like this black startup. Really
I can't afford new keycaps.
So
My
correct me if
escape
I'm
button's
wrong,
been missing for months.
like a Series A round is probably typically around like a 5 million price point, right? And I'm assuming that any particular VC might write a check for $250,000 to maybe 2 million for that A round. So let's just say you know, you write $1 million per company. And this ideal venture firm is like, okay, our goal is to find 1,000 companies a year. So that's $1 billion. And to not go broke, let's say, 1% hits and you get a 500x return, right? And that probably is going to take 5 to 10 years to come to fruition. That sounds like you probably would need between like $7 to $10 billion in that fund to make that sort of thing work. To where you're not concerned that your fund's gonna
implode,
be insolvent. Yeah. So that's a decent number, but I feel like that's a real target, right? So I don't know if 1,000 companies, black owned companies or black women companies are pitching right now. Maybe that's a drop in the bucket. Maybe that's actually a big number. I have no idea. But I would hope, I don't know, I would hope that if you can build a fund, a $10 billion fund, which is no small fund, not saying it's like whatever, but I would hope that, okay, we could get more black women invested with that. Because I'm assuming they're just looking at, oh my gosh, this is such a risk. It's all based on bias, of course, but it's like it's a risk because I don't trust women subconsciously. Right? Okay. So the larger social issues to undo that's a challenge over here. But if you could build up a venture firm that is that strong, I would like to think, goodness gracious, can you fund at least 500 black companies if you got a $10 billion fund?
I agree. I mean, it's one of those things where it's on one hand like it's a challenge. On the other hand, like it should be possible. Like it should be. There's no reason that it can't happen. That more black founders can't find that more black founders can get funding. And it's just one of those things that's really frustrating to have to deal with. Because here's the thing, right? You just mentioned, like, hypothetically, you're talking about having a VC, VC firm 10 billion, right, to be able to fund that, so that way we can have a fully black firm that is specifically seeking out primarily black founders or founders of color or whatever, right? The thing about it is there's about 22 million millionaires in the U.S. I just looked it up. 22 million millionaires in the U.S. 8% of those people, 8.8% of them are black. We're talking millionaires, right? At least millions. So millionaires includes billionaires, which includes trillionaires and anybody up, above that. 8% of 2 million is 160,000. So let's say you have 160,000 millionaires.
You said there's 2.2 millionaires?
Yes,
2.2 million millionaires, I should say.
Yeah, 2.2 million millionaires. Right?
I thought you said 22 for a second.
I thought you said
I'm
22.
Sorry. My bad. I'm sorry. Yes, it is 22 million.
So it's 100. So it's 1.6 million.
1.6 million. Yeah.
Black millionaires. That's what you're saying.
So let me see, 8% of let's see, 2
Because
10%
would be
10% would be 2.2
yeah,
million. Yeah.
So the thing is, like, with less than 10% of that 22 million being millionaires, right? They have to be able to fund whatever the assets they have themselves, right? And then have money set aside for investing specifically for this firm.
Yeah,
right?
what kind of millionaires are we talking to? There's different grades.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
some millionaires can invest, other millionaires are
It's-
just
some millionaires are still
well-paid.
living check to check. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
they're very well paid middle class people, pretty much.
It's one of those things where, like, there's so few of us right now, and I obviously that's going to gradually continue to change down the line, but like you said, it's a combination of having like to undo or like social biases that a lot of the majority of investors, the majority of people with money have, and then while also doing that, they have to be willing to invest in, diverse founders or startups or whatever in various industries. It's one of those things where it's tough. Like the way that people like us get funding is we literally have to be so good they can't ignore us.
Yeah.
Or I already have, yeah. Like, what was his face? I posted it in the tech chat not too long ago. Candidly, never heard of the app, but the guy had bootstrapped it. Yeah, I never heard of the app. I try and keep all my plugins and stuff very basic, y'all, like the most basic shit.
Yeah, but scheduling interviews and chats and shit, like, I mean, I've used it several times.
Nope, never.
That's crazy.
Great app. I mean,
Yeah.
I took a look at it and I was very impressed. But ultimately, he bootstrapped that all himself for a very long time before he even thought about taking funding. And I think that was the smart decision.
It's a common story because, like,
Yeah,
if you're gonna struggle to get funding, you just can't afford to be 5 years pre-revenue. No, you got to turn revenue like within a couple of months. Like, you
Yep.
need something coming in because you're probably gonna be bootstrapping it. So, which is probably why you don't get a lot of Black people doing social media.
That's a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big part.
It
Like, even
has to produce revenue.
social media or really anything that's not consumer product.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Consumer product is probably outside of small businesses, which are typically consumer product or service industries, right? You're not going to see a lot of diverse founders that are bootstrapping it, or rather getting, large sums of money and
Friends
investing.
and family around.
That's literally what ends up happening. Is like, and that's if you have the family who's had enough people that was able to make it, and that was able to have that discretionary income. Because I can tell you right now, ain't nobody on neither side of my family that I know who is able to invest.
Nah.
You know what I mean? And a majority of us are so risk averse.
Like,
once we have it, we're afraid to put it anywhere that we might lose it.
It's fragile. It feels hella fragile.
It feels fragile.
My grandmother is still afraid of the stock market. Like, the fact that I put anything into it, and Lord knows, I've told her about crypto multiple times, and she shakes at the fear of it.
I keep forgetting how young you are, because when you're like told your grandmother about crypto, I was like, my grandma can't even print her church programs.
Yes.
I had to print her church programs for years. She would not learn how to use Word.
Control P.
Let me tell you
There's
something.
no way she would know crypto is not even a real concept to my grandmother. Either.
Not at all. Not at all. Like, I mean, both of mine are passed, but like my father-in-law just turned 88. To this day, this nigga refuses to learn to use a computer.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's like nothing in his mind is like, I need this. It's like, no. If you want to talk to, nigga, I'm not reading no emails, none of that. If you want to talk to me, you better call me on the phone, pull up. Like, I'm not going to do
the technology that I was using when I was in my prime. That's what I'm comfortable with.
That makes you wonder, right? Like, what's going to be that for us
You better
We're
send a
like,
letter,
nothing.
nigga.
Texting.
Fuck
You
is
better
that?
text me. Don't
I
you hologram me. You better
I
text
know.
me.
I know
You
what
gonna
it's. I know it's gonna
hologram
be for
me?
me.
You gonna
I'm not going to
implant
VR
me?
chat, nigga.
Yeah,
Send me an
right. He said, I
SMS.
ain't going to metaverse.
Yeah.
Neuralink.
Nope.
Neuralink is gonna be the cutoff for me. I'm not gonna.
Nope.
That's a bit too far.
Neuralink me the fuck up.
Oh
Here
no.
you go. We all right.
See,
We are
I'm
way
caught.
off track.
I'm really
We
caught
are
there
way
too.
off track.
Nope. I'm
Yeah.
staying on
I'm
every.
a
I'm staying on it. I
Stay-
got to.
bugging.
Hit the
We're gonna
pin
put a
button.
pin in it.
Hit the
Yeah, we're
pin
gonna put a
button.
pin on that. Yeah. So we
It's
talked a
that-
little bit about you moving into this role. Was there a point where you, and I mean, you didn't really leave your last role, like you said, of your own volition. But how did you decide that, like, when it came to this opportunity, that this was like the right next move for you, or right enough?
It literally just felt like everything fell into place in a way that was damn near like a movie. Like, for me to be put in this position where I felt like I hit one of my lowest lows in a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm uncertain about the future, and I'm like, fuck this. Like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that whatever I'm doing next, if I'm doing it on my own, I'm running the show. That's what I want to be able to do. And then literally not even the next day or the day after, I have a conversation with this person who wants to offer me a role that gives me the opportunity to do just that with a product that I actually care about and I'm actually interested in working on. Because all these other products, like my first job working for Armstrong Transport Crew, I didn't care about trucks. I don't care about trucking. I don't care about building a transportation management system and building these dashboards that look like they were made by somebody who was writing Java back in the 90s. Like, I want something that's fun to interact with, that's modern, that's working on, a mobile device or something that I would actually want to use. And even at the last startup, like, I was into fitness, but I don't really care about running marathons. Like, that's not something I'm really into
That's
doing.
Maurice
But
right there.
this is the product that I would actively use on a regular basis. This is something that I would have found value in my past and now. So, like, it felt like so many boxes kind of ticked for me. And then I was offered like a compensation package that I could live comfortable with. Like, there was no reason for me not to. And everything else just clicked. Like, everything you could think of, from the boss that you're working with, from your teammates, from the level of work or the autonomy and of your working process, to the product, feeling engaged with the product, like, everything aligned. So I was like, yeah, man, I'm on it. I had 3 other job offers on the table. I denied all of them. I was like, I don't even want to entertain the offers, just because this is something that I'm willing to invest my time and energy into.
I mean, you
That's
didn't have
amazing.
to
That's
deny
awesome, man.
all of them. You could have
Yeah.
picked up one, kept it in the pocket.
Wow.
Listen, man,
Wow.
I wasn't
Wow.
in that mind state.
This motherfucker.
Not everybody is trying to layer on job after job after job.
Facts.
Tech has job redundancy, is what he has. It's where it's like,
Redundancy.
if one job fails, then just another job just pops to the top.
Hey, man, he's a load balancer. What you
Like
mean?
a Pez. He is a little bounce.
He said we gonna round robin this shit.
I'm sure, like, H&R Block is like, you can't add another W2, sir. Like, it's not.
No, my tax rep was just like, the fuck did you do this year? I was like, Latoya, listen.
Reasonable question.
It just kept happening. I just kept saying yes.
Just kept saying yes.
He's spamming his tax rep.
Right?
Like, literally.
Jesus.
Like,
Oh my gosh.
because she had known about the 2. She didn't know about the other 2. And then
Other 2.
and then so like, when I
I'm
sent
trying
her
to be like you
everything,
when I grow up, man.
No,
I
absolutely not.
sense-
I don't want to be any. I want to work less jobs. That's
Right.
my goal.
Here's the thing, right? Here's the thing,
If
right?
you're doing the same
Would
amount
you
of work
work-
for 4 times the pay,
Right? Would you work the hardest you've ever worked in your life for 1 year if you knew that you wouldn't have to work again for 4 years?
Oh yeah, well that's different.
All right, then. So you would do it
But Tech is going to be working next year, so he didn't do that.
if he chooses to. I mean, sure, but like,
I mean, even
My
if
thing
Tech
is,
can take off
I have
1
3
year,
kids, taking
Tech-
a year.
Oh,
off
yeah, you
is
got
not
it,
an-
yeah.
and this
Yeah,
nigga bought a
take
second
off
house.
yeah.
Facts.
man, I'm,
Bruh, listen,
hey, I'm with it. Get it, man. Get it how you can. Because honestly, like, it's
That would
crazy.
not motivate me to not work for 4 years. I need to do it so that I not work ever again. Like I
Ever
don't have
again.
to work ever.
The
Right.
money needs to start making money, so now I can work when I want to
But the
work.
thing is, like,
That's the goal.
I say that simply, right? Like, if you were to take that money and just not do anything with it, just live off it for 4 years, you could do that, right? If you're smart and you take that extra income and invest it, if you take 100 grand and put that, and you're able to take 100 grand, put it in the stock market, 4 years later, what would you have on a 7% return? Because the average return is 7% right now, compound interest. Somebody do a calculator. 100 grand after 4 years.
Carl.
Google.
Dividends.
Yeah.
I'm googling it.
So
right, while
NFTs
you-
for old people.
Future value calculator. I always jack this up, but let's see.
7% return on $100,000, which so easy to get. So
How much is it? How
It
much was
is
the
easy
initial?
to get. Like S&P 500 is like 10%.
7%
It's usually
return.
above 7. It's usually
Yeah,
above
On
7.
how
7
much
is
money?
conservative. $100,000 over
100,000.
4 years.
That's 10,000. Okay. 131. So you'd have made like 31,000, just over 31,000.
You would have made $31,000. You would have made damn near the American average salary doing nothing. Doing nothing. You are,
That's
and
after
you're not.
10 years. You need.
That's
you
after.
need-
That's after what? That's after 4 years.
with an annual compound.
Assuming that you don't add anything else to it. Now let's say you
need
added.
a milli. You need a milli so you could get.
I mean, yeah. If you wanna like,
racks a year.
if you wanna like not work at all, but I'm saying $100,000. That's one job. If you did one job,
Y'all
extra,
niggas
right?
can't do math.
If you do 4 or 5 jobs like Tech over here, you make that work for a year, right? You're able to pull in that extra discretionary. This is not the income you're living off of. This is discretionary, $300,000.
Back up.
Look at that.
Crazy.
I put $300,000 in there over 4 years. Guess what? I got 1,463,000 in
Say
4
that-
years doing
Say that
nothing.
one more time. I missed
Oh, wait.
your
Whoops.
numbers that you put in.
The
I'm
same,
putting
except the
in-
salary is 300,000.
Yeah, my apologies. I put 300,000 for the yearly deposit. If I do an initial investment of $300,000 at a 7% interest rate and leave it in for 4 years, you're gonna have an interest of $93,000.
Nah.
No, you're
But
going
if
to
you
with 3
take
kids
that-
like Tech.
You say you got 3.
IRS is making me its
Yeah.
bitch for sure.
But
this
yeah,
time-
you-
this time.
It's- I mean, it's like 3 times the money. You was like 31 for the first one and 93 for 3 times. Like, it's very similar, based on what I'm looking at here. You made like a 31 off the 100,000, and you made 93 off the 300.
But
I mean,
if
it's
you
a lot of
kept
money.
adding that year after year for 4 years, you're over $1 million, man. 4 years, don't have to work a day of your life for the rest of your life.
Like to me,
You don't have to. Not saying you wouldn't, but you wouldn't have to.
I feel like I would be getting there once I hit $1 million invested. But before that, like I would still feel pressure to work.
I mean, I don't think we would ever. That's a mind state thing, right? I don't think any of us would ever feel like, oh yeah, we would be comfortable just not working.
No, I
Oh, God,
definitely
no.
We're gonna
No,
we're gonna have
would-
something that we're gonna want to do,
would
but the
probably
difference
fall
is
apart.
Yeah.
That's
It
it.
would fall apart. But I want options, right? You're just trying to unlock those options.
I want to be able to follow the an impulse to like, hey, what if I like any of those ideas you have? I want to just be able to follow it for a little bit without having to worry about eating.
Exactly. See, that's something that I look forward to. Like once I'm able to get to a place where I'm financially secure, not just stable,
Stock
but I'm
market
secure,
always goes up.
and I'm good with making. I'm good. My eventual kids are good. The household's good I don't have to work, and I'm at a place where I can now say like, oh, I can do what I want. I can take it because I have a dream. Like I want to be a scholar. I want to do researches. I want to do like research
Let's
projects.
go.
I want to go
Damn.
I want to go to college because I can afford it and actually invest time like learning shit at a high level that I've always been interested in learning. But you can't do that and live comfortably. Not us at least, unless you have, a lot of people in your family who are willing to help you.
I don't want to take the tests. I would just I would
Even
relocate to Boston for a little bit and just go to MIT classes. Just show up in the
yeah,
classes
like literally
and
just
like
learn for
take
the sake of
notes.
learning.
Yes, I would absolutely do that.
Because I have
That's a dream
an
for sure.
insane interest in like machine learning and artificial intelligence. Like,
For
but
sure.
a lot of that is a lot of high level concepts that take a lot of thought power to be able to process and learn.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to dedicate a lot of time. And like right now, like I'm not in a place where I want to do that. Or I can do that. But if I was in a position where I did not have to work and I could just spend time just chasing these rabbit holes of like going do my own research projects, learning on my own. I have access to the internet. I can learn anything in the world if I want to. All I would need is time. Time and internet access.
Mhm.
That would be my dream lifestyle. That plus travel, I'm good. Because I guarantee you, I'm gonna learn some shit that's gonna make me even more money down the line. 100% guarantee.
Your shit.
Absolutely. Like you do have to get on the jet to go get that spot, over
This
in Asia.
motherfucker.
Like Asia's got the food. Come on now. We got to go
Oh,
over there,
absolutely. Yeah.
get dinner, stay at a nice hotel, come back. Um so need a few
I'm afraid for
dollars.
your heart when you get rich, Carl.
Listen,
By that time,
the
like they're gonna have
billionaires are
perfected
investing in that sort of stuff. They'll
exactly. They're
figure
gonna have
that out.
perfected the pig transplants and everything. Carl will be fine. He'd be like,
I mean,
oh,
yeah,
I don't
you
fuck
want
this one up.
you
Give me a
want to
new
be
one.
you want to be pork? Is what you're telling me?
Hey, as long as that shit
Hey,
beating,
is it
you good,
working?
right? Exactly.
That's my thought process. Listen, put a chip in my
Nah.
brain, put a pig heart in my chest, and
Nah.
keep me
I'm
going
good
for
on
another
all
30
that.
That
years.
man died. That man died.
Hey.
He did not go for another 30 years.
Facts.
and I'm good. I don't want to turn into a werepig. I don't want to wake up and oink in the middle of the
Pig.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Listen,
got limits.
or a 3D printer
Also
heart.
don't
I don't
want-
care what it is.
Also, don't
Just
want
keep
anybody
me
else to
going
have
to like
access to my thoughts. There's a lot of things.
150. I'll be happy. 150.
No,
Get me
I-
out of here.
I don't know
150.
a single old person that feels the way you feel.
Mm-mm.
I really don't. I really don't know a single old person that's like, yeah, give
I've
me.
met a couple
Other than
people.
Their
rich
bodies-
billionaires,
But their
like,
bodies aren't like that. Like they've been worn down by life. Their
I know.
bodies aren't vibrant.
I
feel
know.
like
I
give
know
you a
old
replacement
people that
body,
are in
too.
good shape for their age, and they're not like that. Like they want to live every next day. They want to live the day that they're alive in right now. But I don't know any old person who's looking forward to like. It's like, yeah, I want to live another 10 years. Like, them jokers don't want to live that long. Like,
I would say
I
I
feel
feel
like
like
there's a real reason for that, though, right?
I think it's because this junk is the same. Like, it's the same old. Like, even though technology changes and our opportunities change, people stay the same. Of course, when you start putting pig hearts in them, maybe they'll start
people
physically
are-
changing.
Yeah,
but-
start
Yeah,
working the shit.
will
people
they
are
ever?
other people are staying the same, but the people you care about are disappearing all the time.
That's what I think it is.
Okay,
I think it's
okay, that
once you
makes
get to a
sense.
point, like if you're, because I've met plenty of people, not plenty, I've met a few people who are like well past the 80 mark, past 90. I've met one person who was over 100, and
And one.
I have commonly heard that, hey, like I'm ready to go. Like once, I'm not saying I want to do it myself, but when it comes, I'm not going to be fighting against it. And I think that like once you get to a point where you've seen like you've outlived everyone you know, everyone that you care about, your brothers, your sisters, your parents' kids, sometimes. Like
Your siblings?
I sorry, not parents' kids. I'm sorry, your children's kids. My fault. Your children's kids, right? Like you get to a point where like, yo, like I'm ready. Like I don't let you
And-
meet
don't have
and
any more
maybe-
tethers to this world. Like
And maybe,
Yeah.
maybe
Right.
that's it. It's the relationships start to fray until you're like the only person. That's my grandmother is the only person left from her generation. She's in her mid 80s.
But I don't think it's just about that either. It's like
And she's like got no friends left. They're all gone. It's it's just her grandchildren and one great grand. But it's like she got so it's really like nobody else left in that line. So I
but
can
you also
understand.
don't even feel connected to society. Like
Right.
I know you've noticed the disconnect you feel with the next generation and the generation after that, right? Where,
Mhm.
like there's certain things like even
It's
like
accelerating too. It's
yeah,
accelerating.
like
It's
even
getting
I
faster.
as a millennial or a zennial, I'm like somewhere caught in between. I look at like my youngest sister and like her generation and like what they are doing. I'm like, y'all seem really weird to me. Like I'm not really like I don't connect with y'all the same way I would as somebody else that's, you know, a 90s kid. So when I imagine like somebody who's like you're now 3, 4, 5 generations disconnected, you probably don't even see the world the same. Like it feels like a completely foreign world, and then you compound that with the fact that you don't got anybody you close to anymore. Yeah,
And
I
then
don't know.
technology makes it worse. Like you feel
Exactly.
like you
Yeah.
can't even live in this world anymore the same way.
That's gonna be
You
us
gotta
with Neuralink.
reinvent a way of life.
I mean, that's if we just don't accept the chip swap. That's
Let's-
if you don't accept the
Yeah,
chip.
I'm good on the chip, man.
Passing on
You
that.
guys,
That's absolutely why South Florida. So
You're absolutely you're
You're s-
giving tech. You are a
You're
security,
the security guy.
and
gonna
you're
get
just
hacked.
you're opening up like there's
brain.
these
Ultimate
black
vulnerability.
boxes right here.
The
Like
ultimate
these,
vulnerability.
the only thing that is keeping you from being controlled is the fact that nobody knows how to access this. And you're like, yeah, let me put a port in my head.
right, you got the best air gap in the world, and you're like, nah, let me plug that thing
Yeah,
in.
exactly. It's nothing has been no more. You don't even know if we evolved from people who were connected to air gapped human beings. Like you have no idea what the
Right, they gave you an advantage.
Right. Maybe
And
they're
you
like,
throwing
oh
it away.
shoot, version 1 of humans was hacking each other and killing each other. Version 2, let's air gap the brains. And now you going backwards to interconnected bee people.
Have a higher
Be
mind.
like a
Hive
drone.
mind, yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be a
Hive mind and
drone
shit.
in a hive.
Yeah, that's hard, man.
Right.
Like I want to love. I have such a love for technology, and I think that technology does have the potential to elevate humanity to the next level of evolution. But I also don't trust humanity to be able to do it
Yeah.
because like I
I'm
would never
trying-
want a company
I
to
also
have.
I don't trust robots built by humanity either to do it. Like, to be fair, like I don't care if you build a smart AI that you swear is non-biased and like they'll do it in a way that we're all safe. No, somebody built it. There's a bias somewhere in there that maybe it doesn't even know about, and I'm not giving it access to my thoughts.
You say it's gonna glitch and call him nigga, and that's it.
Yeah, or
Absolutely.
just make me a subservient
Absolutely.
slave and be like, yeah, you but you like it this way. Because I know white people who thought about that and they're like, yeah, black people actually like slavery. Like I know white people who've actually said that. So the
I'm
fact
sure.
that there's definitely a chance that this super smart AI in the future is going to feel that way about black people. So yeah, just
So-
leave all of the access. I want an AI that loves me more than everybody else, and that's how I'm protected from the
Lord
future.
have
It's just
mercy.
constantly Jarvising my life and
I
keeping me
want a
safe.
Jarvis too.
Yeah, just keep me safe from that stuff.
It's gonna Jarvis you so well that it's just gonna kill you. It's gonna be like there's nothing that we can.
There's
I
no
don't
way to
want to
yeah,
risk
gonna be you.
anything. There's no point. The risk is so high for you to
It's
be
just
alive.
it's
It's
gonna
better
kill
for
me
you
in
to be
my
dead.
sleep. It's like
Yeah.
if you die in your. That's
It's like I'm doing everything anyway. Like the fuck.
I don't know if y'all watched
Don't
Agents
need
of
that
Shield, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Ava, what she
Haven't
did to
seen
her master, I was like, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
absolutely how we always make the robot like there's only one way to keep you safe, and that's to unlive you, unalive you, and then
Unalive you.
you'll never be killed if you're never alive. So
Exactly. It's gonna
There you
hit the
go.
paradox, man.
That's funny.
Wow. So, as far as like being CTO, how has that been for you? Like, do you still feel like? I mean, I feel like it's still relatively new, but like, do you still feel like it was the right next step?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely something I'm still getting used to. And I know I'm gonna continue to encounter new problems that I'm not gonna be entirely sure how to solve at first glance. But that's what I'm excited for, because that's the only way I'm gonna continue to grow, both as an engineer and as a leader and as a CTO. So overall, I'm really happy with the decision. I'm looking forward to seeing where it takes me.
100%.
Awesome shit.
Cool.
So what are you up to today? Like, what's your shit now? Like, what are your must watch, animes or other shows? Are you working on any cool projects besides the CTO thing?
Let's see. My life's been pretty much of a slowdown since I just got married. I just came back
shit.
from my honeymoon.
Congrats.
congrats, man.
Yo,
Appreciate it.
congrats. When was that, man?
The 20th of March.
Fucking
Yeah,
congratulations,
super
man.
We got a
That's
load.
literally 1
Yeah.
month.
Yeah,
Literally
exactly.
2 days.
Yeah.
So in terms of like must
The ring
watches,
probably stopped burning now at this point, right?
No, mine's
Yeah,
still burning.
I'm
man.
still
It's been-
getting.
it's
I'm
been
still
3
getting
months.
used to this thing,
It
man.
hurts, doesn't it?
hurts.
Chaps your finger, right?
I mean, yeah, like skin breaks out underneath it, and not breaks out. Like, I had dead skin,
Man, you
but like
got a lotion a lot.
for me, it's like whenever I grab things that like like forces my fingers together, that
that
hurts.
bone. It feels like it's pressing against the. I'm like,
Yeah, I'm like, what
Oh,
the
I
heck?
don't feel that.
It
anymore.
feels like
Feeling-
bondage
That's
is what it
'cause
feels
it's
like.
It's the
new.
feeling of being on lockdown.
That's
Basically.
you won't feel it after a while.
Yeah,
Come
it
on,
goes
bro.
away.
Just because you built calluses doesn't mean it doesn't hurt.
No,
Just means you don't have pain receptors there.
you
Pretty
just
much.
have the wrong thought process about being shackled, AJ. That's all.
That's what the white man tried to tell us.
Listen,
my
he
God.
said.
Oh,
He
damn.
We're gonna put
said
a pin in that.
restraint is actually freedom.
There
Absolutely.
you go.
No, but
Says who?
aside from that, I mean, in terms of like shows must watch, I just finished Attack on Titan, and I'm really excited for the next season coming out.
Next
We've
year.
been watching Demon Slayer, trying to get caught up on the entertainment arc. That's been pretty good.
Fire.
Been steadily getting better, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Fire.
Trying to think what else. So trying to find another show to watch after that, because
Spy
we just
Family.
started Ranking of Kings. That's actually
good
really
one.
good.
Ooh,
Good one.
Ranking of
That's
Kings
really
was highly
good.
slept
That was a good
on
one.
by this whole
Yeah.
group, besides Suave.
Just started that.
This nigga.
Side projects. I'm trying to find a project, to be honest, like, because I'm still in this position where like I'm trying to find my community here in like the DC area, and like trying to find like a hobby or something that I can kind of get into. So I've joined a couple. Obviously, I've joined a few groups like Black Hole Collective, DC Gaming Group. Obviously, I'm hanging out with you guys, and I'm trying to find like that hobby, because before I had hobbies in back when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, that I can't do here. Like I used to be really into car stuff. I don't have a garage, so I can't work on a car, and I don't want to pay 2 car payments to park my car. So I'm not into car stuff anymore. I haven't really gotten into done any photography stuff lately. And as far as YouTube has been, like, yeah, I haven't made a video in like over almost 6 months, because I don't know what to make my next video on. Like, I don't know.
You
Now
already,
that's been so
you already
long.
made the black CTO video? Because like the
I
black
haven't
young
haven't
CTO
yet. I'm trying to figure out how I want to approach it, right? Because here's the thing, like when I create content on YouTube, I specifically want to make sure I'm providing value to the
Mhm.
the audience, right? Like I don't just like create vlogs or anything like that just for the sake of
A
showcasing
day
my
in the
life.
life of a CTO. That's what exactly you're.
Chris
Exactly,
said make
right.
it on Guilty Gear. he said make a
Make it
video
on Guilty Gear.
in Guilty Gear.
Getting in,
Or if you want to be
Guilty Gear.
a non-paid intern for Blurred, you
Non-paid
can-
intern?
Yeah, the CTO wants to be a non-paid intern for Blerdimension.
Hey,
That'd be a nice
the nigga
juxtaposition.
said he need hobbies.
What's the
He
hobby?
needs. Would your hobby like to be cutting video footage for social
Yeah,
media?
yeah.
That's
There
a
you go.
great hobby.
For old heads in tech.
It's crazy because like I thought I was gonna be. I spent all this money on this new like M1 Max MacBook. I was like, yes, I finally have a laptop that's as powerful as my gaming PC, and I can take it around and edit anywhere. And I have yet to create content with it.
Well, we'll
so
send
you
some
just kinda-
files.
Sound like you're just looking for the right shit to do it with.
Things just fell
I mean,
in place. Am I right?
that's what it is. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
they
just
just
trying to
fell
find the
into
right
place.
stuff.
All right, we'll send you some files. Get you started.
Absolutely.
Yep, we got some
me tell you-
content. You know,
Hey,
you
is
can
there
add
is
a
there any
twist to the
documentation
edit.
we need to send him Suave as an intern?
We gonna get it together.
Listen,
all
A
right.
couple
we can
Tell you about
NDAs,
this
Yeah,
backlog one time, young man.
Damn, he said, "Damn, y'all just replaced Crescent like that."
No. He's on the editing team, editing and dev team. That's exactly it. Preston is
Yeah,
can't replace
Yeah.
Preston.
Terrible.
yeah. Who's gonna help us win against the orange team in Halo?
I mean,
I mean, he will.
That's
But-
not a guarantee.
Who
anyway.
will? Who will?
Joel will.
Oh, okay. I thought you said me. I was gonna say.
No, I didn't.
I'm gonna say Suave. That's not even funny. That's not even a good joke.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I fuck with you, AJ, and I respect you enough to tell
Hey,
you that
don't
that's
even
not
start.
your.
Don't You're sitting up here qualifying. Just we already understand where I am. And
You know, that's
you don't need.
No,
that's
to put
not
it
your
on the
strong
record.
suit, right
Shoot
there.
you in the
know?
head.
Yeah. I got a
Shoot
good personality. I understand.
Terrible.
Hey, you don't have to be good at it.
I've been called
AJ,
ugly
you're
before, Suave. I know how this works.
He's been denied before.
You
man.
can
He
draw
knows how it is.
good. and you know, you don't need to be good at Halo.
It's kind of like Swall
You are a
saying,
great
you're a
drawer.
you're a great person, but
You're a
just
great
not our type,
person.
man.
There you go.
You're just not for
Not
us.
you.
Personality out the wazoo.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks. I absolutely feel better after all this. It doesn't feel condescending at
should.
all.
It shouldn't. You know. So we kind of got into it, but like, what's good with you lately? What are you watching right now? Playing all that good stuff. Reading.
Well,
If you
apparently he became
picked
a
up
fucking
manga.
monster at Guilty Gear in 5 fucking seconds. But
Wow.
I mean,
Bro, I suck at Guilty Gear.
okay, yeah, definitely. Says don't patronize me, my friend.
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not
He
trying to
sounds salty
patronize
after
you.
the ass whoopings he got, huh?
It was disgusting.
I got
Wow.
decent. I got decent at one character on that game.
Mm.
And you can
And
already compete against Creston on
I
equal
cannot-
footing.
there is no equal footing. Creston wiped me 10 games in a row the last time we played, which was like literally yesterday. So there is no
gotta
equal footing
ask.
there.
I gotta ask, is there footage of Tech getting his ass whooped?
Oh,
No, there's not.
Of course
Damn.
not. That
y'all
would,
didn't stream it?
we streamed it, yeah. He
Oh, we
streamed it.
did?
Oh,
Oh,
he's
shit.
streaming. No, you can't let him
On
own the
Switch.
Masters.
Oh,
That's
Don't
on
let
Discord
him-
yesterday.
up more content.
Oh, he said there is. I don't know if that's true, if I believe that, but
More
Yeah.
content for that ass.
I think
whooping.
out of the 20 times he beat me, I think I beat him once.
Yeesh.
That one time
Sounds about right.
is skill nonetheless.
Sounds about right, man. It's all right.
Eventually, I hope that they eventually put that game on sale, and then I might buy it and actually put practice in.
What, for Guilty Gear?
Yeah, after getting burned by fucking Battlefield, I am so wary for buying games for full price anymore.
Are you gonna
Sounds like you're gonna be
are
on
you
Xbox a lot.
we done?
He said what?
You gonna be on Xbox a lot?
I mean, yeah, I have Game Pass stuff. But most of I play on PC primarily.
Yeah. Did you check out the new update they have for Battlefield?
I've been watching YouTube videos about it. I haven't personally played it. I actually took it off my hard drive because I'm not gonna give space to that game until they fix all their shit.
Same.
But as they continue to make updates, eventually they might fix it if they don't just give up the project, entirely.
Yeah, I think they're trying to come back with it.
Cyberpunk is still a thing, so Battlefield's got a great chance.
See, that's CD Projekt Red though. Like CD Projekt Red somebody insert the meme of like Obi-Wan telling Anakin he was supposed to be the chosen one.
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
CD Projekt Red
I got it.
was them, right? They were supposed to be the chosen one, and they just flopped Cyberpunk. Well, let me go back. They allowed the suits to force them to flop, because I know for a fact the engineers were raising hell about the process they were going through. But I mean, for what it's worth, Cyberpunk was still a good game. I still played it and beat it. I mean, despite bugs,
I didn't enjoy it.
I played it.
I
fun.
enjoyed it.
It wasn't bad. I didn't think it was bad.
I wish there was more to it. Here's the thing,
Yeah.
right? Because I've been like trying to find a game that like I miss games that I used to be able to just sink hours into. And like for me, those games were Skyrim, Fallout New Vegas, and like the Mass Effect series, right?
Ooh,
Or any BioWare game.
yeah.
I've been trying to find another game to play that I actually have some level of investment into. Like whether that's the characters or the story. Last of Us was a good example of a great story-driven game. And I can't find one. Graphics have gotten too far for me to be able to go back to like Fallout New Vegas and try and play that normally. I've tried getting into Horizon. I actually restarted Horizon Zero Dawn to try and prepare for Forbidden West, but like most games now, like I'll pick it up and I'll play it for a couple hours and I just don't come back to it. Like even Elden Ring. Elden Ring is a great game, but it does not have enough to keep me interested that keep me wanting to come back to it. Like I played it, I have no real problems with it, but I've dropped it and I just haven't picked it back up, and I'm not at all motivated to go pick it up again.
Yeah, you gotta take it in stride sometime, or stick it in like chunks. Because if you try to beat a game in one sitting and burn yourself out, you don't want to come back to it. So
Yeah, I
like,
mean, it's not so much like doing it in one sitting. Like for me, my ideal lifestyle would be like, I work, I try and I want to do something relaxed after work, around like, 9, 10 o'clock. So I'll hop on and play games for a couple hours, right?
yeah,
So I don't mind, like, for example, God of War, I
that's
was
a great
really
game.
late to playing God of War, but I eventually beat that. It took me like literally like 6 months, but I kept coming back and like after I finished the next stage, it kept me interested enough to want to come back and play it again. But I feel like the formula for a lot of these games now, especially open world ones, are so handholdy and like on rails that I don't feel any sense of like impact from playing the game. And then you got ones that go the complete opposite direction, like Elden Ring, which is one of the first games that actually encourages your natural sense of discovery and exploration. But because there are no real hard set objectives, it also feels like I'm just kind of wandering around. And like while the mechanics are fun and the gameplay is okay, like I'm ADHD, so like if it takes me 6 minutes, 10 minutes to get from point A to point B on this map, I'm gonna lose interest.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, that's how it was. So Tiny Tina is my game now, Wonderlands, and it's been super fun.
I hear good things about that. I tried to get into Borderlands, like Borderlands 1 and 2, because they used to blow up like really big when they first came out. But I think my only thing about Borderlands was that it felt kind of repetitive. Like a lot of the quests were very similar when it comes to like, it's one of those things like I never got into like Diablo, for example, those looter shooters or those looter grinders where you're just like trying to get better and better loot. Because I'm not really into the grinding mechanics, which is why I fell off of MMOs. But I've been keeping my eye on the side for Tiny Tina's Wonderland because I've been hearing a lot of people saying it's a really good game. But it's very like Borderlands based.
Yeah, it's Borderlands, the mechanics of Borderlands, but they added more features to where you can, like, for instance, the Chaos Chamber. Chaos Chamber is super fun, and like they just added the DLC today, so you can go into the Chaos Chamber, and now instead of one boss, you're facing two bosses. And in the DLC, you have to face a boss like 4 times in different tiers in 4 weeks because he changes. So like, and it's pretty. I mean, it's fun. It's fun. So if you want to hop on that, let me know. I got some boys I play with, but on PlayStation.
I might check it out. I might download it.
And it is.
It's on Game Pass, right?
I don't think it's on Game Pass.
I thought I saw it somewhere on one of those.
If it is on Game Pass, then you play on Game Pass, crossplay. So
I'll take a look.
Crescent says not on Game Pass.
Ah, tragic.
Yeah. Anything else that you into lately?
Not in particular, man.
All right. Y'all got anything else for Joel?
nah, it's good.
Tech wants a job, and I want Tech.
Yeah, I'm just looking for my own boarding papers. I mean, talk to B. Let me know when it's
good to go. Yeah,
when it's good to go. I'll drop one of the side gigs. I
You
mean,
drop one of them.
One of them. I cannot give you guys all of it, but
I just really want Tech to have the job of his dreams. So that's
exactly.
That's what I want to know. It's like, when are we hiring Tech? Yes, that is my question.
Hey, when you're hiring front end Solidity niggas, holla at me.
If we have you're finding some front end folks. I have I'm actually trying to help this one young lady. She's trying to get a tech job. She's doing front end stuff right now, so possibly.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys posted. Solidity is definitely something we're going to be looking into in the next phase because it seems like if there is one buzzword that all the investors are mocking to like flies, it's blockchain.
100%.
Blockchain. When are you dropping your NFTs? That's exactly what their questions are.
Yep. And that's something that like I really am excited to explore with QuirkChat.
It's an interesting funding model for sure.
I want to make sure that we incorporate in a way that is like what's the word I'm looking for?
Ethical?
That adds ethical, but like actually like it's actually worth adding because like integrating blockchain like is not a simple process if you want to do it well, especially when you start getting into like marketplaces or special like user benefits from holding NFT and then like having to organize around that. So like I want to make sure that if/when we do add it, that there's a good reason for it, and it's done in a way that's not going to turn off our audience, because there's a lot of obviously there's a lot of obvious controversy around the blockchain in general, NFTs in general, and like how people use and manipulate that. I ain't trying to be like you play out here, freaking Ubisoft releasing NFT for the games that nobody asked for.
Wow.
And then getting shat on.
So many of them did that.
You gotta be smart about it.
Anyway.
You can't just be willy-nilly with it, you feel me?
Nah. All right, man. So are you staying on the game, Creston? Are you coming on the game? What are we doing?
I'm gonna be out pretty early, so if you wanna sub in, that I can drop out immediately and then
AJ, you just got here. Immediately.
Because the battery or the tank is incredibly low.
Oh man.
Yeah, my tank's pretty low too, but I'm gonna take my dog out and then I might see what you guys are playing. I'll probably play a couple.
I think I got just probably Rocket League in me. Maybe Halo if we just do that first, but yeah.
Sheesh.
Yeah, guys,
it's tired.
Hey, man. Did Tuesday happen? That's the question.
I don't know.
Wait, what happened on Tuesday? Did I miss something?
No, did I miss Tuesday? Is the real question.
Oh,
like, did it happen,
bro? That's literally how I
when
you work so much that of course he's talking trash. He ain't on camera. No, I'm just kidding. you know how that thing is where like you're working so much you don't even know what day it is.
Oh yeah.
That's me like almost every day. Like if it wasn't for my digital calendars that says, "Yo, you got this shit scheduled today," I would have no clue what's going on.
Yeesh. All right, man. So let me turn this shit.
You said LOL, but I'm in bed.
Wow.
This
nigga.
Wow. Oldest of the old.
For
You're
real.
over here sitting with the lights off. All you see is the phone glow on his face as he's laughing at us.
With his fucking glasses on and shit. Nah, get out of here.
Great to know we're there with you, Creston. Really.
You're right.
In bed.
So
looking down like Charlemagne with glasses down.
Rage expects. Those things were so terrible. I don't even understand who thought that was a great idea. Like I just want to be able to. If you wear glasses, right, you don't want them ever off. Why would you ever need to remove them? Like you wearing them, you don't want to wear them in the first place, but you got eye deficiencies here, so you're putting them on. When would this ever be a function that's needed for regular glasses? And then for shades, it just looks dumb.
No, some shit you can say you could do.
It's shading your cheeks really now. Because you can put the.
Now I got that laptop glow.
You didn't put the shelf. Oh, such a terrible design. The glasses.
Yeah, it was bad. All right. Well, I guess that's it for right now, Joel. We definitely appreciate you coming out here. You've been a fantastic guest. And we'll definitely have to have you back when we do some other like tech discussions and shit. Because it was
we got
good conversation.
Tech shows coming up.
Yeah, we're gonna do just directly tech focused like software shows, and put some of those up. I'm thinking maybe like a series where we like cover just one single bit of tech or some stack or something like that. I'm mostly leaving that to y'all, but yeah.
Well, I'm definitely down. You guys have been awesome. I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to participate in your show. And to cut the shit with you guys. Y'all been really fun to talk to. And I'm definitely down to play whatever afterwards.
Bet. Let us know when you after you take the dog out.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I'll let you.
Let the
All right, man.
dogs
I'll let you in a bit.
All right.